This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Police have found a missing 15-year-old South Jordan girl alive after nearly 6 weeks of searching. Investigators say Elisa Petrov walked into the Colorado Springs Police Department and told them who she was. South Jordan Police Officer Sean Becker says she's in good health and they're now working to reunite her with her family.
It's a good night. It was a very, very good night. Not only for my police department, my detectives, but for the family and the South Jordan community.
Petrov has been missing since April 21st after court documents suggested she might have run away to meet people she was talking to on social media. Police have arrested 3 men in connection with her case. A woman has been arrested in Utah County after police say she attacked her roommate over dirty dishes. Arresting documents say Scarlett Giracocha pushed her Provo roommate to the ground, grabbed her hair and neck, and tried to kick her face. The suspect was arrested and booked into the Utah County Jail. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. Supreme Court has just declined to hear a challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban. This means the ban that went into effect in 2013 will remain in place. Your money at this moment, the Dow's down 149 points to 42,120. Coming up, we've still got some slow spots, including I-80 out past Park City. Traffic and weather together is coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Discover the timeless value at Duke's Jewelers, a local treasure since 1948. Whether you're searching for a unique engagement ring or need expert watch repair, Duke's has been serving the community for over 75 years. It's the perfect time to visit and explore the wide selection of custom designs and quality gemstones. The skilled designers at Duke's can bring your dream piece to life, while experienced jewelers handle repairs and modifications in-house. Duke's Jewelers takes pride in value pricing, ensuring you receive the best prices every day. Need an appraisal? The Duke's Jewelers AGS certified gemologist is here to help. Whether it's hand or machine engraving, or redesigning old favorites into something new, get personalized service for every occasion. Visit Duke's Jewelers and experience the difference of locally operated expertise and dedication. Duke's Jewelers in Springfield, Utah.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. It is time for our annual spring clearance sale at Arctic Spas. Tons of hot tubs, swim spas, all-weather pools, saunas, and cold tubs all on sale at up to $7,500 off. Yes, up to $7,500 off. Just in time for the summer fun to begin. Plus, we have a few models left over from last year, like an Arctic Spa Polaris, a 7-foot by 7-foot with 40 massaging jets, 2 pumps, ozone water purification, UV water purification, multicolored LED lights, and a waterfall, now discounted to $89.95. Swim spas starting out at $19,995. This brings a pool to your backyard all year long, but especially for the family fun this summer. Comfort and convenience is on sale with our automated saltwater system. Or save even more with almost new refurbished Arctic Spas from years past. Start out online at arcticspasutah.com to pick out your favorite spa. Then stop by one of our 3 Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah: Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. Last aid year, University of Maryland Global Campus awarded over $21 million in scholarships to qualified students, including community college students, service members, veterans, and working adults. Now is the time to move your career forward with an online and accredited skills-based education. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and My Lowe's Pro Rewards members can save even more with limited time deals. Right now, buy one, get one half off select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams primer and ceiling paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13, delivery by 8 p.m., subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Time for a check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Our slowest traffic right now is up in Summit County. This is eastbound I-80 between Kimball Junction and the US 40 turnoff, but it's only in that right lane as people try to exit both those exit places. Again, Kimball Junction, US 40. Northbound I-15, the traffic is almost back to normal speeds from Lehigh into South Salt Lake, just a few brake lights. And southbound I-15 in Davis County, that has returned to normal where we had an earlier crash in Clearfield. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be partly sunny with highs around 80. The rest of the week should be a little cooler, highs in the 70s until Thursday when temperatures shoot back up again. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 70 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Aaron Ryder in today with me. Good morning once again.
Hi, Debbie.
Glad to have you back in studio. And you probably heard overnight the big development of this missing 15-year-old teenage girl who's been missing since April 21st, hasn't been seen, walks into a Colorado Springs police department, I believe it was yesterday, and tells police there in Colorado, I'm the missing teen from Utah.
Yeah, wild. I mean, first of all, let's just be grateful that this was the resolution that this came to, because a 15-year-old who's been missing for that long, usually things don't go well, right? I mean, that's a long time to be missing. And for her to just walk into this police station and say, hey, here I am, let's just be grateful that that's how this ended.
It sounded to me like police caught a lucky break with this. I knew that we knew through our reporting that they had arrested 3 men, not in connection with her actual disappearance, but for allegations that they had been chatting with her at some point online. And they've been accused of having very inappropriate chats with her online.
Right.
So cops had a digital footprint. What I wasn't convinced of, from my experience covering multiple child kidnappings and child disappearances, is that they had any idea what her physical footprint, where it went. But they did say that she walked into this Colorado Springs Police Department overnight and said, I'm Alyssa. I'm the missing child from South Jordan, Utah. And here's what South Jordan Police Officer Sean Becker told our very own Adam Small earlier today.
Last night, she walked into the Colorado Springs Police Department and identified herself as the South Jordan runaway that's been missing. And they instantly got into contact with the South Jordan Police Department, where detectives were able to make contact with the department and confirmed that it was Alyssa. We immediately activated the protocol where we contact the family to let her know that the family that she had been identified and located. It is our understanding that she is well and in good health. And we are overjoyed and delighted that the family's going to be reunited and that she's safe.
To your point, fortunate.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah. I mean, especially because it wasn't like she walked into a police station in Provo. This is Colorado. This is an entirely different state.
Hundreds of miles away. So one of the questions that we have, Adam, and good morning, is you're tracking this story, joining us live. One of the questions that I would have is how in the world did she end up in Colorado? And we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, what do we know about her condition?
Oh, good morning to you two guys. And right now, we've just been told she's in good health. She walked into the police station. She's good. She's fine. She's safe. She's in police or in the care of police officers there in Colorado Springs until she can be reunited with her family. There could be more that comes out as, that police are able to talk with her more. She is reunited with her family, but as far as we've been told, she's in good health. Officer Becker told me this morning this was really the best case scenario in a case where a girl's been missing for 6 weeks.
Do we know how she ended up in Colorado?
That's one of the big question marks right now. To kind of do a little bit of digging back into the timeline, the last time Alyssa was seen in Utah before she went missing on April 21st, she was taking a front runner train from American Fork down to Provo, and court documents and some of the investigation into the 3 men who are being charged in her case, there was some suggestion she may have been trying to get down to Las Vegas to potentially meet up with one or multiple people that she had met on social media. So the fact that she's found 6 weeks later in Colorado Springs really came out of left field in terms of everything we knew. We thought maybe she was trying to go to Las Vegas, but no, instead she's found in Colorado Springs. So in terms of where she's been in the last 6 weeks, that's still something we are trying to figure out.
By now, you're probably familiar with the case of the missing 15-year-old teenager, hometown of South Jordan, Utah. She's been missing since April 21st when her mom says dropped her off at school. And then that was the last anybody had ever been, seen of her. And it seemed to me, Adam, and what do you know about this, that I just felt like when I heard the news this morning and then it became clearer that she was the one who walked into the police department in Colorado Springs, that it felt like, from my experience covering these cases for decades now, that cops in South Jordan caught a lucky break. But do you know any details? Did they physically know where she was moving to, or were they close to finding her themselves? What do we know about that angle of this?
Well, I don't know much yet about how close South Jordan police were to mapping her physical footprint at the time that she showed up to the police station in Colorado Springs last night. But I really think it is exactly how you described it, Debbie. It really seemed like a lucky break. I mean, maybe police were a little closer than we thought because they hadn't really said a ton about how much they had learned about where she might have been during these 6 weeks. But, I mean, at the very least, it was an extremely lucky and break and good news last night that she walked into the police station, and not only walked into the police station but told them, hey, I am the person, like the teenager they're looking for from Utah. And officers were immediately able to reach out to officers here and detectives here in Utah, and you're immediately able to start that process of reuniting her with her family, which is obviously going to take a little bit of time with how far away Colorado Springs is. But again, we'll hopefully learn more about how close they were, if they knew where she might have been in these last 6 weeks. But I mean, at the very least, we take the win in the fact that she is alive and okay, and we now know where she is today.
Adam, could you I'm just curious, these 3 men who are being charged in connection with this, what do we know about them? What do we know about kind of what was going on here in terms of their role in this?
Well, the 3 men that have been arrested and facing charges, they're accused of being, I don't know if Alyssa was talking to anyone else on social media before she went missing, but these 3 men are all being accused of not only communicating with her on social media, but the conversations they were having were very explicit, sexual in nature. Details I don't want to get into on live radio, but I mean, they're all facing charges related to those conversations. We know one suspect, Matthew Menard, who is from Florida, was allegedly speaking with Alyssa on social media before she went missing. He is actually expected to be in court down in Provo today. He's facing several different charges. 2 of them are first-degree felonies in aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, again related to those very explicit alleged conversations on social media. Another suspect from Harriman is currently in the Salt Lake County Jail awaiting his first court appearance related to similar charges but not aggravated. And then there's another man who I believe is still in police custody in Texas. I believe the Utah Attorney General's office has filed charges against him, so I imagine they'd be working on extraditing him here to Utah. But as far as we know, he is still in police custody in Texas. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. And I mean, with Officer Becker, that conversation I had with her this morning, she said that, this is really, seems like the case is over, but for them it's just beginning, in her words, and that they still have 3 people in custody they need to investigate, and there could be more suspects we don't know about. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but there is still a lot of work to do in piecing together, everything related to these 3 cases, as well as, potentially anything else that may or may not have happened.
Adam Small of KSL News Radio, tracking the developments that began happening and becoming clear overnight to us here at Broadcast House that the missing teenager, Alyssa Petrov, out of South Jordan, 15 years old, walked into a Colorado Springs Police Department and said, "I'm the missing teen," maybe not quoting exactly, but told police, "I'm that missing teen out of South Jordan." And now she is in the care of police in Colorado. Of course, we'll be tracking the developments on what happens from here. And it sounds like perhaps police are working on getting her back with her family, Adam.
Yes, that's correct. It's a process they're working on today, and I'm sure they're trying to get them back together as soon as possible. But again, it sounds like it's going to be a driving expedition for either her parents or getting her back to Utah to her parents. And obviously Colorado Springs is not close, so we'll keep you updated as soon as they are back together. We'll let you know.
Okay, we'll continue to track the developments of this developing story. The 15-year-old walking into a Colorado Springs Police Department. Sounds like it happened yesterday. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, on the line. Good morning, Greg. Aaron's with me this morning. Aaron Ryder. So
good morning.
You're talking to both of us. So this is, there's so many layers to this. And as Aaron and I were talking about earlier, like the whole online aspect of this, where these 3 men were snagged by the police department, not in connection with her physical disappearance, but for allegedly chatting with her very inappropriately online. And Aaron brought up, this has been an issue since the invention of the internet, because even when she said she, remembers the warnings about the AOL
chat room, right?
Chat room. So let's start there with that.
Yeah, I mean, talk to us about this, Greg. Like Debbie said, I grew up, as a millennial. I'm an older millennial. As I grew up and the internet started to become more and more a thing, and you got into those AOL chat rooms, that was the big thing. Be careful who you're talking to. Be careful what's going on here. But it just seems like that never changed. Like, we're still dealing with that. And now it's just that much more prevalent, because it's not just AOL chat rooms. It's social media. It's any avenue that you can communicate with a person on social media. And when you have a phone, when you have an Apple Watch, when you have all of these different, an iPad, a Chromebook, whatever it is, right? All these different ways to get online.
Video games.
Oh yeah, video games. That's a good one.
There's so many. Yeah. It's really can be the wild, wild west out there for our kids and for their parents, Greg.
Yeah, and thankfully I'm a little generation ahead of some of that. But I'm just looking at this and looking at the probable cause statement. And you guys, they charged these men several weeks ago. They charged them with chatting with her on May 12th. So you wonder what has happened in the intervening, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, between the time when they were charged. And these are very, very serious charges, including aggravated exploitation of a minor, aggravated sexual abuse of a minor. I mean, all kinds of, enticement of a minor. They're just very serious charges. They list the victim, but not by name, as though they sort of knew who she was or knew something about her. And then suddenly, weeks later, she comes out. The chats are graphic. They're very problematic. You would hate to think, if you had a child or a grandchild or niece or nephew or somebody that was part of this sort of communication, that they would be alarmed just reading it themselves, let alone, your parent or somebody like that. But you wonder how this poor child got down this rabbit hole.
Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, talking about this case involving this 15-year-old child who's been missing for several weeks out of the South Jordan area. She walked into a Colorado Springs Police Department. Sounds like that happened sometime yesterday. And now is in the care of police. From all we know here, from our reporting here, is she seems to be doing well. And thank goodness she walked into the police department. Greg, just from my experience, you've been a prosecutor in your past. You're currently a criminal defense attorney. I'm not sure police were close to finding her from what we were hearing, at least on our end.
Yeah, and I think it's a miracle. I think it's an absolute miracle that she was found, that she did turn herself in, that she was unharmed, except whatever's happened in the interim, and going to be reunited with her family. And she'll be able to testify against these men. And, of course, they're presumed innocent. But if they're, in fact, the perpetrators and she can identify them, it really creates a very powerful case for the state. But most importantly, as you guys have reiterated over and again, it's her safety, her reunification with her family, and the fact that this nightmare, at least that part of it, the missing child part of it, is over. Now we can just leave it to the hands of the Attorney General's office, and they've got good prosecutors assigned to this case, and they can go after these people.
How often do you think this happens in your experience, Greg? Sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
You're going to ask
good.
a question.
You're good.
But in terms of these chats, I've covered stories for decades on this kind of stuff, but it doesn't seem to be. I don't know these men, and of course these are only allegations. I don't want to make that clear, but certainly there have been many individuals convicted in the past of this. What they're just not getting the message, Greg? I mean, is this still a very prolific problem out there that parents need to be aware of?
Yes, these chats are going on right this second. These chats are going on right this minute. And any parent who doesn't think it's happening should go and look at what their children are doing and what they're visualizing, what they're seeing. And I know that you think, well, people will get caught every time, but sometimes they don't. I mean, there are a lot of missing children right now and a lot of people who are being exploited, and we just don't know the extent of it because we're not getting them caught. But this one seems to have been a miracle, and if it's all true and she's going to be fine, there's still a lot of questions to be answered, which is what you guys are talking about, which is how did she even get involved with this? Because, like I said, these chats are so awful that you can't imagine any child being enticed by that at all.
That was actually going to be my question, Debbie, is what do parents need to do at this point? Like, what do we do going forward with this if we're still facing these issues? I imagine to some extent we're going to face issues like this as long as the internet's around. But I guess in my mind, I'm thinking the onus and the burden on parents really is just going up. Like, you've got to know what your kids are doing. You've got to know who they're talking to, and you've got to know what's being done. From maybe a policy standpoint, Greg, what kinds of things could we do from a community, a law enforcement policy community, to maybe help strengthen this? I don't know if you have any suggestions or thoughts on that, but.
Yeah, I think parents just need to be educated more and more and more. And I think parents need to be empowered, even in their own homes, and say, look, if you're going to access the internet, I'm going to access your internet. I'm going to look at what you're doing. Parents have to do that, Aaron. They have to be able to, and they are currently able to, but they just have to be willing to just take that upon themselves and say, I'm going to check what you're doing once a week. I'm going to go onto your internet every Saturday, or whatever you choose, and not let something like this happen, because the consequences of this one are about as bad as it gets. And it could have been much, much worse. But and I'm not blaming the parents at all. All I'm saying is, going forward, parents need to make sure, I would, if I was advising parents, that you're looking at your children's internet regularly.
Well, and we brought up the list of ways that people have access to kids these days. We're talking about video game chat rooms, or social media platforms, or texting apps and messaging apps. And I start to feel overwhelmed for parents. It's like your child is standing in the middle of an intersection with 20 different roads.
Yeah.
Where adults who they don't know can come at them from all different directions all day long, every day, 24 hours a day. And the anxiety I feel for parents right now is it's a lot. And I'm so grateful that Alyssa Petrov has walked into a police department in Colorado Springs. We have a lot of questions, of course, of how did she get hundreds of miles away from Utah? what prompted her to walk into that police department. All questions we'll be asking here, and of course covering the court cases as well. These three individuals who have not been charged at all with the actual physical disappearance of her, but with the allegations against them have to do with having inappropriate online chats with this 15-year-old. Thank you so much, Greg, for weighing in on this. We'll continue to follow this throughout the day and throughout the show right here on KSL News Radio as the story warrants. We will bring you updates. Straight ahead, did you hear what Republican Senator Joni Ernst said, Aaron?
I did.
Let me just play a short clip.
They are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die.
Republican Senator Joni Ernst reminding a crowd, not a happy crowd, at a town hall that she was holding that, yeah, we're all going to die. What prompted those comments, and then her attempt at an apology. Straight ahead.
It's been so important in this news show to hear how the news is impacting you.
Midday.
How this is really going to impact your life or your children's safety or your husband's job. To hear that wow moment from you.
Midday with Maria Shilaos.
I invite you to join us from noon to 3 right here on KSL News Radio.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on? I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk. A wireless company that actually stands for something.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to Finding Neverland at Hale Center Theater. We were there, Dee and I, on opening night, and it is absolutely amazing. I was so impressed by the aerials. They don't overwhelm the production, but boy, when they use the aerials, it really counts. In one scene, you have not only the flying around, but dancing in the air, which is spectacular. Another thing that I love, in J.M. Barrie's imagination, the Captain Hook character is absolutely spectacular. A perfection in pirate plumage. Let me put it that way. You're going to love the story. You're going to love the production. It's Finding Neverland, and it's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And don't forget, right now is the perfect time to get tickets for the rest of the season. And all you have to do is go to hct.org. And don't miss Finding Neverland.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour, the Utah Democratic Party elected its new leader this weekend. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
Brian King will lead as the party chair. The former candidate for governor and current legislator took the top spot with thin margins, beating out the previous director of the Salt Lake County Democratic Party, Ben Peck, with just 52% of the votes. King says he is ready to lead the party, and Utah Democrats are energized, motivated, and ready to fight for the values they share. Other positions were voted on as well. Susan Merrill will serve as the vice chair, with Brad Dichter as the secretary and Catherine Boutte as the treasurer. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Many of the tariffs imposed by the White House are being challenged, but the Trump administration says they are prepared to fight all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
The president announced he's now doubling tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, raising them from 25% to 50%. This is starting on Wednesday. The European Commission blasting this move, saying that it only adds to the uncertainty, that it undermines ongoing negotiations, and that they're prepared to respond with countermeasures. And it comes as these tariffs continue to be challenged in court.
ABC's Rachel Scott reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow down more than 0.5%, 245 points in the negative to 42,033. Coming up, it's warm today, but it's going to get even warmer later in the week. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matter.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Join the KSL News Radio all day on Wednesday for our Giveathon. That's right. And you can even help donate to kids at Primary Children's Hospital today by visiting kslkids.com or texting the word SMILE to 57500. You can be a smile maker for as little as $15 a month. So make sure you join us all day on Wednesday for our Primary Children's Hospital Giveathon, and then become a smile maker today by texting the word SMILE to 57500. And as always, our special thanks to J&J Garden Center for being our Smile Maker sponsor.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. If you've lived more than a decade, you've seen organizations die, companies, nonprofits, even nations. We often think that in a turbulent world, stability is our safety net, but the opposite is true. When turbulence abounds, organizations that can adapt survive. It's worth saying that again. When turbulence abounds, organizations that can adapt survive. Having a death grip on the status quo, denying the need for change, and using history as a roadmap is the surest way to become obsolete. Whether at an individual or a corporate level, we should not be asking if we should change, but how can we change? Learn more about dealing with change in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Time for a check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a crash southbound I-15 just before the 90th South exit in Sandy, and the right lane and shoulder are blocked in that area. It is slowing traffic down just a bit, backing up towards 7200 South, but it's only adding a minute, maybe two at most, to your commute if you're heading south into the Sandy area. No problems northbound I-15 in Utah, Salt Lake, or Davis counties. You've got good speeds on the east and west side belt routes around the Salt Lake Valley as well. Find out more about how your kitchen or bath can be the kitchen or bath of your dreams in just 3 days. Just visit 3daykitchen.com. That's 3daykitchen.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now today, partly sunny with highs around 80, pardon me. The rest of the week should be a little cooler with highs in the 70s until Thursday when the temperatures heat up again. By Sunday, it could be 90 degrees once again. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 71 degrees. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, imagine going to a town hall. You're there to see your U.S. Senator ask some questions, and then she reminds you that one day we're all going to die. This is what happened in Iowa at a town hall. United States Senator Joni Ernst was facing, it was a rough crowd. I watched about 10 minutes of this, and Aaron Ryder in Today with me. You have actually run for political office before. I would imagine being up on stage like that as a politician, being it sounded like she was being heckled along, would be rough. But at some point, when questioned about Medicaid and the looming cuts for Medicaid that are being discussed right now back in Washington, D.C., she reminded the crowd, we're all going to die.
Yeah. I mean, look, politicians are human, and sometimes they get tired, and sometimes they say things that are dumb. And this was a dumb thing to say. I think we can all acknowledge that. This was just a dumb thing to say. There were people who were Medicaid cuts are a big deal right now. They're a huge deal. And no matter what, Democrats are going to use this against Republicans if it passes. Now, we have to remember that the Senate still has not passed their piece of this. We don't actually have full legislation. The House has passed theirs, but the Senate has to debate it. They've got to figure it out, and we've got to reconcile between the two if we're going to do anything at all. So we don't know how this story is going to play out yet in terms of Medicaid cuts themselves. But it's something that Republicans want. It's something that Trump wants. And so now all eyes are on the Senate. So now you have Senator Joni Ernst, who's sitting at a town hall getting a lot of pushback on this. That's not unexpected. I think if you go into a town hall as a Republican right now, you should expect to get a lot of pushback on Medicaid. But her response, and she had a moment. I mean, you can even tell in the video, like as a candidate, I watched, the town hall, and you can just tell she has a moment of like, that probably wasn't the right thing to say.
So shall we listen to it?
Let's listen to it.
We've pulled it's about a 45-second swath of this moment, so you can get an idea of what led up to this. And then after this, we're going to come out on the other side and talk about this moment at this town hall in Iowa.
When you are arguing about illegals that are receiving Medicaid benefits, 1.4 million, 1.4, they are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes, folks. Okay, no, but what you don't want to do is listen to me when I say that we are going to focus on those that are most vulnerable. Those that meet the eligibility requirements for Medicaid, we will protect.
Yeah, I mean, what she said at the end is what she should have responded with from the get-go. Instead of saying, well, we're all going to die, and then try and laugh it off as a joke, she should have just said, look, you guys, there are a lot of people who are taking advantage of Medicaid who don't need it. We have to deal with entitlements as a country, or we're never going to get out of our national debt. So, yeah, people who are here illegally should not expect to get government aid in terms of health care going forward. But we are going to prioritize and continue to prioritize those who are most vulnerable and make sure that they don't, that would have been a much better response than just, well, we're all going to die.
So she's responding to somebody in the crowd who says after talking about Medicaid cuts, people are going to die. Mm-hmm. Somebody in the crowd is concerned that if somebody loses their Medicaid benefits, they could not be able to seek medical attention. That makes sense to me. And her response is, well, we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we know that. The last thing I want to hear when I go to a town hall or anywhere is we're all going to die.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The bigger issue here is that there's some pretty decent tax cuts that are on the table. And then on the flip side of this, there are also some pretty decent Medicaid cuts. And also some work requirements, which I think people in general could probably get on board with, but it's how you handle it.
Yes.
And to come across it just sounded very tone deaf to me when I heard her say that the fact that there are people on Medicaid who probably do need to be subjected to some sort of a work requirement. I think it is fair to say that this program needs a close look.
Sure.
It needs an audit. It needs a regular audit. We need to make sure that people are on it are deserving, and that people who need to be on it, who can't get on or need help getting on it, are getting the help they need to get on it. But this sounded tone deaf to me. The bigger issue that I had with it was I felt like after she said it, she could have stopped and said, that came across wrong. Let me back up. Here's what I meant to say. Mm-hmm. That this program, if we're going to work on the debt, we have to look at entitlements. Mm-hmm. We have to look at Social Security. We have to look at Medicare. We have to look at Medicaid. We have to be able to do that. We've been talking about this for decades. It needs to be done. But instead, I think the next day, issues, I'm going to put in air quotes, an apology. It was a sarcastic apology.
Yeah, she entrenched.
And then, so she's got time to think about this, of what she said, how to correct, or maybe soften what she said to that crowd. And instead, she takes to Instagram for an apology. Let's play this, and then again, we'll come out on the other side and chat about it.
Hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
So that was her, air quotes here, apology.
Yeah. I mean,
should we gather our thoughts on this and come back after the break?
Let's do it.
Talk about this.
Because there's a lot we can dissect here from just a campaign standpoint. And she is up for re-election next year. So there's a lot we can talk about with this.
Aaron Ryder, you've been involved in politics here in the state of Utah. I can't wait to hear your take on that. That's next.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. Visit your Utah Hyundai dealers today.
Dave and Dujanovic.
United States Senator, she's a Republican, Joni Ernst, made a comment at a town hall just a few days ago that got the crowd riled up, got all over social media as well, that we're all going to die, talking about Medicaid cuts that somebody in the crowd was very, very vocal about and concerned about. And then she tries to issue an apology. We just listened to that apology, Aaron.
Yeah, can we listen to that again, Debbie?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about a minute long. It's was posted on our Instagram story, and let's refresh our memory about what she said in that apology.
Hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Should we tell our listeners where this apology was issued from?
Yeah, you go for it.
It was from a cemetery. Let's talk. Okay, stick with me here for a second, Debbie. Let's just talk about this from a campaign perspective. Joni Ernst is up for re-election next year. If we were just talking about the initial statement where she said we're all going to die in her town hall, my reaction to that is insensitive, not the right thing to say, but it's really not going to matter long term. Like, people are going to forget about it.
And I think it would have been forgotten about had she said, look, we have to take a serious look at Medicaid. Mm-hmm. And as a nation, we have been trying to work on our debt, and the numbers just aren't mathing right now. So Medicaid is something we're looking at now. Yeah, there's going to be potential for stricter work requirements. We're going to take a really close look at the program. But this is so people who need to be on Medicaid know that it's a sustainable program.
Yeah.
But she didn't stop herself there when she made that comment when the woman in the audience
She kind of tried to explain where she was going with it.
Right.
And,
But then it seems like instead of, usually when you think about something for 24 hours, what my experience is, like when I think about it, and it's like, oh, you know what, I should call that person I said something to, or I was insensitive, or I probably should say, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But instead, she went to a cemetery to record an Instagram story with what I characterize as a pretty...
It was not really an apology.
A non-apology.
It was a gaslit apology, right? Like, I'm so sorry that you didn't understand what I was saying, and it's a good thing I didn't have to explain the tooth fairy to you. So, like, that to me was worse, because if she And you know that the only reason that she made this apology is because this got national attention. I mean, it was all over the place. Most major news outlets had picked it up. The Democrats had picked it up, and you know that the Democrats are going to run with this when they run someone against her in 2026. And you know, sometimes as a candidate, you say things, or as a politician, you say things that are dumb that you don't actually mean in the moment, and you just know they're going to come back to bite you. But also, there is a power of incumbency that can often overcome that, and voters' memories are short. They just are. If she had just left the statement as it was and done nothing more about it, it probably would have just, it's going to come up no matter what, right? So how she responds to it dictates how potent it is when people bring it up again. If she had just left it alone, then yeah, people would have brought it up, but honestly, I don't know the voters would have really cared in terms of how they voted. The apology, though, is worse. And if she had come out in an apology, and who knows, maybe an advisor said, you've got to deal with this, you've got to make an apology. Maybe she felt like she needed to. Maybe she felt like she needed to defend herself. I don't know. But going the route she did of, I'm in a cemetery and I'm sorry that you didn't get what I was saying, and it's a good thing I didn't have to explain something even more basic to you. That to me just says you just don't understand. And that starts to look like a politician who doesn't get it and who's totally out of touch with their constituents. And that becomes a bigger issue when you're running for re-election, because now you're giving fuel to your opponent to say, look, she has a continued history. She has this ongoing theme of not getting it and of not being in touch with her constituents. Why would you elect her for another term, right? That's how I would go after her as an opponent. The first statement, yeah, it's dumb, but you're probably not going to get a lot of news cycles off of it in 2026 because all the news cycles happened in 2025, right?
Well, I love your insight because you've actually run for political office before, and you've been, you're a political insider.
And I run against an incumbent.
You have
twice.
So I feel I much appreciate your perspective. I'm an outsider watching this. I don't live in Iowa, obviously. I'm not moving to Iowa after retirement, so that's not I won't have an opportunity to really see the ins and outs of how that election cycle goes. But I will say, when I watched it, my first thought was, I don't know what she's trying to accomplish with this. And
you mean with the apology?
Yeah, with the apology.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, and then back up to the town hall, I thought the best course of action when you say something is when you realize you say something that is just not probably maybe not appropriate for the moment, or you misspoke, to just say that right then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wish more people would do that, maybe more politicians, would do that. But when I saw the apology on Instagram, I thought, what are you trying to accomplish with this? Because it's not, whatever it is, it's not really resonating with me. The second thing I thought of is politicians in general should just, if she's trying to be funny, politicians in general just should not try to be funny.
That's true.
They should just not. You're not a comedian. I mean,
it's too easy
an art
for people to mistake.
Yeah,
what you're
it's
saying.
an art that many politicians have not mastered, nor do your constituents, or at least me, expect you to master. Mm-hmm. So just play it straight. You don't have to try to be cutesy or funny or make a funny joke about something. It is okay. I think the art of funny is hard.
Yeah.
So,
and it was a flippant comment. Flippant comments never go over well when you're in a town hall like that. And town halls are rough. Speaking from personal experience, they're rough. And especially right now for a Republican, it's a rough environment.
I was going to say that too. Having been on stage a few times, I mean, I'm not a politician, but just as a journalist or whatever, as hosting events and just being, look at the lighting on the stage. It's pretty dark. You're the only one up there, and the spotlight's on you. It can be pretty daunting. Mm-hmm. And then the crowd was really rough with her. I thought just yelling at her quite a bit throughout it. However, I don't think that excuses the comment, but particularly when you have time to think about how the apology is going to look. Mm-hmm. I don't know who came up with going to the cemetery. That turned my stomach.
That was a bad call.
But you don't think that at the end of the day, this is going to impact her in a run? in her re-election campaign.
I think the apology opens her up to attack. I mean, the initial comment did certainly, and it will be used. If you live in Iowa or if you watch this race, it will be used against her, no question. But it doesn't open her up to attack the same way that the apology does.
So you think the apology could potentially be more harmful than the actual moment?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you think the more time has gone on, it seems like our memories as voters get shorter and shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably because we've got so much news coming at us all day long, every day anymore that we move on too.
Yep. And in a Trump environment, let's be honest, people say a lot of things and still get away with it. If she's in a safe Republican seat, her biggest concern is going to be a primary challenge. And Democrats can throw all the money in the world they want at her. But in Iowa, if she's in a pretty safe Republican seat, then it's just, at the end of the day, I do not think that this sinks her. It will be used against her, and the apology will be used to make the case that she is continually insensitive and out of touch with her constituents. But the reality is she's not going to lose office because of this.
Straight ahead, you thought the cost of weddings was pricey. Wait until you hear what Aaron and I found out. That's in the 10 o'clock hour.
It's time for the KSL Giveathon.
We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Go to kslkids.com and donate today.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long.
Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including the Utah Hyundai dealers, for their amazing support of the kids of Primary Children's.
The KSL Giveathon. We can't do it without you. Please give today at kslkids.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a clinical study for children and teens. Is your child struggling with bipolar depression? If your child is between 10 and 17 years old and experiencing symptoms of depression associated with bipolar disorder, such as persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, trouble sleeping, low energy, difficulty concentrating, or even suicidal thoughts, Pantheon Clinical Research may be able to help. We are ready to take your call anytime. Call our phone lines at Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. We're conducting a no-cost clinical study for children and teens facing bipolar depression. Participants will receive study-related care, medical tests, and investigational treatment from a dedicated medical team, all at no cost and with no health insurance required. Call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550, or visit our website at pantheonclinical.com to learn more. Hope starts here.
The Utah RV Palooza is ready for another round of RV savings. But this time, we're hooking you up, South Salt Lake County. June 5th through the 7th, we're bringing our packed inventory of new and used RVs to you on Harriman Main Street, just south of Winco. Shop all the best RV brands fit for any budget and all at show pricing. You'll find payments starting under $139 per month on approved credit on select new RVs and clearance pricing on all remaining new 2024s while they last. You'll also get 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Start shopping the best deals now at UtahRVPalooza.com. And it's the only show featuring the full lineup from Wayfinder RV, available exclusively through Bish's. Plus, every RV purchase receives a free 1-year RV Fix membership, your fast track to RV service repairs. All this plus free admission to the Utah RV Palooza, June 5th through the 7th on Harriman Main Street, just south of Winco. See you in Harriman.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 89922. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details. Deal number 822B426B.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
Attention passengers, we've reached 10,000 feet and internet is now available for purchase.
I just paid hundreds for this flight and you can't even throw in internet? I'll just take the free pretzels.
Sorry, but I do have snack boxes for sale.
I'm just gonna sleep.
In that case, we are selling pillows and blankets as well.
I'll just breathe. That's free, right?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Chuck McDowell here again. Over the years, I've seen way too many timeshare exit companies pop up, take folks' money, and disappear. I just saw an ad from an exit company started by a couple of bozos that used to work for me. My advice, don't hire bozos out fire. Want out of your timeshare? I'll send you our free timeshare exit info kit explaining your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free kit. Call 800-995-2929. That's 800-995-2929.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Imagine waking up every morning with a smile you're proud of. No more hiding, no more pain. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's Best of State winner for 3 years in a row, has helped thousands of people ditch the dentures and say goodbye to missing or broken teeth. Their expert team specializes in giving you a permanent, natural-looking smile with dental implants that feel and function just like real teeth. With over 2,000 five-star Google reviews, their patients say it best.
Dental implants gave me my life back. I feel confident again. I feel like I can be myself.
There was no way I was getting dentures. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been the best decision of my life.
Let the expert team at Stubbs Dental help you take the first step to changing your life with dental implants. Schedule your complimentary consultation today, a $350 value, absolutely free. Visit StubbsDental.com today. That's StubbsDental.com. StubbsDental.com.
10:01 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. It's a developing one as police have located a missing 15-year-old girl from South Jordan after nearly 6 weeks of searching. Police say Alyssa Petrov made contact with police officers in Colorado Springs last night, and they say she's in good health. South Jordan police say her family is aware, and they're now working to get the family reunited. 3 men have been arrested in connection to this case. One of them is scheduled to be in court today, and we'll have live updates as that develops. A woman has been arrested in Utah County after police say she attacked her roommate over dirty dishes. Arresting documents say Scarlett Giracocha pushed her Provo roommate to the ground, grabbed her hair and neck, and kicked her face. The suspect was arrested and booked into the Utah County Jail. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 8 people in Boulder, Colorado are recovering after police say a man attacked a group of people marching to show their support for freeing the hostages in Gaza. Former FBI agent Brad Garrett says the investigation is still early, but there are some questions that need to be answered quickly.
Did he plan it? Did anybody help him? Maybe, maybe not. This looked like a lone actor attack to me, but we'll see. And they'll have a picture of this guy and may already before they decide who's going to charge him and when they're going to charge him.
Police say the suspect used a makeshift flamethrower and threw Molotov cocktails at the victims. Your money at this moment, the Dow down this morning, 188 points to 42,082. Coming up, a lot cooler after a hot weekend. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 10:03.
Are you over 50 and constantly feeling tired, bloated, or just a little off? Don't ignore it. Those could be signs that your liver is crying for help. As we age, our liver, which is essential for metabolism, digestion, immunity, and detoxification, needs extra support and protection. If neglected, it can leave you feeling sluggish and constantly off your game. That's where Active Liver from New Nordic comes in. Available in easy-to-take tablets or delicious gummies, Active Liver combines powerful natural ingredients like turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract to help support healthy liver function. With Active Liver, you're giving your body an essential daily defense against toxins from alcohol, fatty foods, and sweets, helping you reclaim your energy, improve digestion, lose the bloat, and strengthen your immunity so you can look and feel your best again. Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on? I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. Visit your Utah Hyundai dealers today.
Traffic and weather together on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Let's check in with Heather Kelly.
Well, our only slowdown right now across the Wasatch Front is southbound I-15 from 7200 south in Midvale to 90th south in Sandy. It's due to a crash still being cleaned up, blocking the right lane and shoulder right before you take that 90th south exit. So everybody's moving over to the left and kind of looky-loo there, so that slows people down just a bit. But that's the only issue I see throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. You also have a good drive now eastbound I-80 trying to exit at US 40, where we had some pretty big delays early on. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we hit a record high of 96 degrees in Salt Lake City yesterday, but today we'll only get up to 80. The lower temperatures will stick around through Wednesday before we start to see another warm-up. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 71 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Here we go. We'll get there. Aaron Ryder sitting in with me today. Our astute, smart political analyst wants to talk about how in the world the tariffs might impact the cost of weddings.
That's right. Especially here in Utah, weddings are a big deal. And it turns out that we are starting to see tariffs impact not just grocery prices, but the cost of weddings.
So you caught this article on NBCnews.com and you thought, oh, we absolutely have to talk about this, because I don't know that we've really seen the full impact of tariffs. In fact, have we seen what? I mean, it's kind of gone back and forth, right? I've gotten tariff whiplash. Like one day they're implemented and the next day they're rolled back.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if they do take effect, it seems like there will be an impact on the cost of weddings.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think, weddings themselves are always overinflated in terms of costs. Vendors know they can charge more for a wedding, and they do. And now you're adding on the cost of tariffs. There are some, it's interesting when you think about the things that are imported that impact a wedding, because weddings are not always necessarily just homegrown USA endeavors. For example, did you know that a lot of roses and carnations come from Colombia?
I did not know that until you pointed that out earlier.
Right?
Yeah,
and
no idea.
A lot of roses come from Ecuador. Tulips come from the Netherlands. Probably not a surprise. So even...
They don't come from Thanksgiving Point?
Those might come from
what
the
is
Netherlands
going on?
too.
I had no idea.
I think Thanksgiving Point would need a much bigger tulip farm to...
But to that point, it would mean that once we've flushed out all these tariffs, or once the administration flushes out all these tariffs, these costs could go up.
They could go up, right? And it's not even just flowers. You're looking at a lot of wedding dresses that come from Europe. You're looking at ingredients for things like your wedding cake. Chocolate, right, that come from other countries. And so every piece of that, if any piece of that's being imported, it's likely going to be influenced by tariffs, which just means that the cost of a wedding is going to go up.
So can we start here with this baseline? According to The Knot, which is a pretty popular wedding website, the overall average cost of a wedding, and I think this might be last year's number, but close enough, $33,000. Everybody's what?
Yeah.
Which means if you break it down, cost per guest, it breaks down just under $300 per guest. In Utah, it's significantly less, and it's almost half that.
Yeah.
In Utah, I don't know. I know a lot of people who've gotten married in Utah. We're planning a wedding for next year in Utah, and it's not my wedding. Just everybody. Like that's not. It's for my one of my children.
Oh, we were about to be really excited here, Debbie.
And she finally met somebody. No, it's for one of my kids. And 17,000 feels a little bit low to me, based on what we now know. We had one place we went to visit quote us. My daughter asked a question like, "What's the general price range for a wedding here? All in. Like, what do brides and grooms paying?" And they said somewhere in the neighborhood between. Are you ready for this? $80,000 and $100,000.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Ugh.
Between the two of us, we could not run to the car fast enough and peel out of the driveway. We're like, we're out. I mean, the money tree is not that robust in our yard, so we're out. But apparently, people are getting married there because it seems like it's a pretty popular wedding spot. And that's not unusual. We found that that's not. Now we're not. We found a place we're not nearly that expensive, but you start looking at the breakdown. The flowers, $2,700 on average for a wedding. If you add tariffs to that,
now if you add a tariff to that, and depending on the country where those flowers are coming from, that tariff. I mean, who knows how high that tariff could be?
20%,
20% could be as high as 50%.
So you add $500-$600 to that.
Mm-hmm.
How about the cost of a wedding dress? The average cost of a wedding dress is $2,100. I'm proud to say we came in, I would say, well under that. But you add the cost of tariffs to that.
Yeah.
A wedding cake, $540. Again, a little less expensive here in Utah that we found.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add a tariff to chocolate, like I didn't know about this. I didn't think about this is what I'm saying. Like when we started, now it's not going to, we're not going to change any decisions here. If you're going to throw a wedding, you're going to throw a wedding, but maybe you're going to find ways to save money. In fact, let's take calls in just a minute from some of our listeners. 801-575-00, 801-575-00. Come on. There's got to be something you've recently cut out of your wedding, or thought about cutting out of your wedding. You're teetering on, do we really need video for this? Can we save money there because the dress is going to be more expensive or the cake is going to be more expensive? 801-575-00. What did you go without for your wedding on your wedding day to save money, or what are you willing to ditch? 801-575-TALK. Did I say 801-575-00? 801-575-TALK. Don't call that other number. 801-575-TALK. It's my last week on the air. It's my last week on the air here because I'm retiring next week. So just forget what I just said. Don't call that number. Call 801-575-TALK. What are you going to go without on your wedding day just to save money? So go over some of the other things that you found in this article about the cost of weddings potentially going up. because of tariffs.
Yeah, well, we're talking about, you've been talking about some of the costs here, but you think about the wedding dress. We just talked about that. If you're going to buy your wedding dress and it comes from Europe, then you may face a tariff, which increases the price. But it may not just be the wedding dress. Depending on where you get dresses for your bridesmaids, if you're going to get uniform dresses or anything like that, if those are also imported, that could increase your cost as well. So, this is an interesting one, right? Because we have talked for a long time about tariffs and do they work, don't they work? And a lot of times what happens is that vendors will just pass those costs on to the final consumer. And sometimes that's just because they can't absorb those costs. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these wedding vendors is maybe your margins as a wedding vendor are low, especially if you're making wedding cakes or something like that. So you might have to pass on the cost of increased chocolate expense to your end customers. This is where the tariff conversation is going to get really interesting because when it starts to hurt American citizens' bottom dollar, how long do those tariffs last before the pressure starts to build? And what do we need to see nationally as a country if every aspect of our lives, from groceries to construction materials to weddings, are being nickel and dimed away by the cost of increased tariffs? So, I don't know. This is the whole debate on tariffs, and President Trump is determined that these are the way that we are going to rebalance global trade. I don't know if I agree with that, and it's because of things like this.
Some of these costs, to me, for weddings seem as though maybe they won't be as affected by tariffs. And what I mean by that, and I could be wrong, Caitlin, maybe you can chime in on this as well, being a wedding photographer. I don't see, unless they're going to run out and buy a new camera, that wedding photography would need to increase that greatly due to tariffs. And the average cost right now for a videographer, let's just say that, somebody that comes and shoots video of your wedding, is $2,300. $2,300. That's still a lot of money. But does that just stay consistent?
Yeah.
But maybe their other costs go up. I don't know. Maybe
well, and you're looking at, if you have a DJ or if you have a live band, maybe those costs don't change if you're not dealing with.
Caitlin just chimed in via text. Why are we texting? You're right here. Can you come in? You're waiting for phone calls. 801-575-TALK. Give Caitlin a call. She'll put you through to studio. What's that one item on your wedding list that you're like, man, we're not going to do that. It's just getting too expensive. 801-575-TALK. Caitlin just texted us here in studio. She said she does video and still photography for weddings. She said $2,300 seems low to me, honestly. And then she says for video, and then she put ha at the end of that. I do sometimes in planning this wedding feel like the joke is definitely on me. Wedding invitations, $520. I suppose the price of that could go up.
That could go up.
Lighting and decor. I've seen price increases, not a lot, but just on some decor items at places that I shop. Wedding rings, this has just gotten so incredibly pricey, $2,900 on average. I would say that might be even a little bit low, but with the price of gold, I think the people, and also I will say one of the things that I think new brides and new grooms, or what I want to say, those who are getting engaged and going wedding ring shopping, are leaning into is the lab-grown diamonds, because those seem to be significantly cheaper.
Or alternative stones.
Because it saves them a lot of money. So maybe that's one thing that one of our listeners has done, is gone with the lab-grown diamond. And I've found, just from a layman's perspective, is I can't tell the difference when I go look at lab-grown diamonds versus mined diamonds. I can't tell the difference. 801-575-TALK. What have you decided to forego because the cost of a wedding is just too much? 801-575. Maybe you've just forgone the whole ceremony and the reception and eloped. That'd be a good answer, too.
That would be a good answer.
But the average cost in Utah is $17,380. And Aaron Ryder, who's in today with me, suggesting that the potential for tariffs as we go into the summer could inflate the cost of a wedding even more. And from my experience in planning a wedding, it's already really expensive.
Yeah.
It gets, I will say also, it gets a little bit scary because you want to do for me as a parent, it's like, well, of course we want our children to have a beautiful, I had a beautiful wedding day. I want my kids to have a beautiful wedding day. But my beautiful wedding day was $4,500 or so. Mm. And now we're looking at prices of $20 or $30 or $40. And some of the quotes that we've gotten are as high as like $80,000.
Yeah.
So that is just not sustainable. One of our texters said at 57500 said they would remove the guests. You can whittle the guest list down. Mm-hmm. Although I think there might be some places that require a certain number of guests, but you could certainly shop that around. Mm-hmm. But that's really hard to do. Yeah. Whittling the guest list down. Like, how do you tell your significant other that, sorry, you can't invite that aunt or that uncle. We don't have room on the guest list. But that definitely saves money. Hi, Doug.
Hi, good morning.
How did you save money on your wedding?
I catered my own wedding.
Oh, how does this happen? Do tell.
Very carefully. Actually, I did fruit trays and sandwich trays, and I just had everything ready to go the night before. And I did the cake myself, everything, the whole thing. I pulled it off by myself.
Wow, including the cake.
How did you do it at home in your kitchen, and then where was your wedding? Can we ask?
It was at an event venue that's now closed. That was up in Ogden, but I did the cake myself. I mean, it was in my own kitchen, but it was a task. But
well, congratulations. That's awesome, though. How much do you think you saved? How much did your wedding cost overall?
We're probably talking $8,000-9,000.
That sounds like a deal. Yeah. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
I saved several thousand catering it myself, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let me look up the catering price is about $80 per person according to the latest stats. So that does save you a ton of money. Because let's face it, let's say you have 100 people, that's $8,000.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it yourself, if it's a DIY in your kitchen, I love that idea. I would say this. Okay, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking on this list. One of the things on this list is like parting favors for your guests, which comes in at about $500. Why are we doing favors at a wedding? Come on.
Do not expect a favor if you're going to one of these weddings that Debbie's planning.
Well, you may very well get one, but I'm still asking why. What is this, like a matchbook with the bride and groom's name on it? I don't remember. Did I do parting favors?
I think it depends. I went to a wedding, my first summer in D.C., one of my law school classmates got married, and he married a girl from China. And so they had this, it was a very expensive wedding, probably the most expensive wedding I've ever been to. But they had favors, and their favors were like engraved chopsticks that had their names on it and the date.
That's cute.
It was really cute,
That's
and
sweet.
I'm sure was not cheap.
Let me see. I'm trying to get these listeners. They did everything. This listener says at 57500. I'm trying to get these text messages. They are trying to do everything made in the USA, so that they don't have to pay any of the tariffs.
That's interesting.
That would be.
Boy, you'd have to do a lot of research on the supply chain for the vendors that you're using to know where your stuff is coming from.
So overall, if you're looking at the average price of a wedding in Utah, it's $17,000, and these tariffs do take effect of 145% out of China and whatever there's this baseline tariff. I mean, I just get confused trying to keep up with all of it. I would imagine you could be looking at, I wouldn't say it's a one-for-one. I mean, I think that there's probably going to be some math involved in this, but you think it would drive up the price of weddings several $1,000s, Aaron?
I think it certainly could, because again, think of what we're talking about here. We're talking about dresses. We're talking about ingredients for a cake. Catering, like our guest was just talking about. The price of food alone is going to drive up your cost of catering, and it's going to drive up the cost even if you try and do it yourself. Favors, wedding invitations, any of that stuff is going to go up. And
how does this play out long term in the administration or with voters? What do you think?
Yeah.
What's your analysis on that?
Well, President Trump has a lot of leeway right now to do what he's doing because people brought him back to make change that they didn't feel like they got with President Biden. And so he has room to do a lot. But results have to start showing up. Otherwise, that leash is going to tighten pretty fast. And with the midterms rolling around, there's going to be a lot of pressure for members of Congress to ease up on these financial burdens if we are not seeing results from them. Otherwise, Republicans who are running for re-election are going to be in a world of hurt, especially if they're in competitive districts. So I think we have probably a couple more months before the midterm cycle really starts to ramp up. And if we don't see some significant rebalancing, the problem is that President Trump's making a gamble that we're going to bring all this business back to the U.S., but it takes a lot of money to invest in a new facility. And if you have facilities in Vietnam and China and India and some of these other places, maybe you think it's just going to be smarter to wait out Trump's administration and see who wins in 2028 than reinvesting in the United States, which is a more expensive place to do business.
So I would say this: young people, meaning in their 20s, getting married, the cost of weddings these days is a huge stressor. It's already a huge stressor, and if the answer that our the younger generation is hearing, well, just don't have a wedding and elope. I don't think that's an answer they want.
No, I don't think
that's not the answer they want to hear. They want to have their day too, and they want to have that in front of family and friends. And when they invite people, particularly from out of town, because we are all spread out now, even all over the world, but certainly probably all over the United States, those people spend money to get here. And so I think what they're trying to do when they host a reception and they host maybe an after party or a welcome party is to make sure those guests feel welcomed and they feel like they're part of their very, very special and very, very memorable moment. Those young people are going to turn into voters if they aren't already one day. And many of them already are. So I would think that if this starts impacting their ability to have weddings, I mean, maybe not to a huge degree, but it's going to be frustrating for them.
Yeah. Well, it also kind of cuts against, President Trump and Vice President Vance have been pretty vocal about the fact that they want people to get married and they want people to have kids. And right now, the cost of doing both is a lot. It's really expensive, and people are pulling back from that. So this is another area where, if we really want, we have some competing policy priorities here. And if we really want to incentivize people to marry, to have children, then we need to make sure they feel like they can financially afford it.
Jeff Kaplan.
His Minute of News is great. It's always entertaining.
I listen to Jeff Kaplan every day.
He gives you important news and traffic and the familiar voice that helps you enjoy the ride home.
I really like Jeff's Minute of News. He's calm and he's balanced.
I really enjoy driving home and just listening to what he's got to say.
Jeff Kaplan gets me home every day.
Join the community that relies on Jeff Kaplan. He has you covered. Afternoons from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. If you've lived more than a decade, you've seen organizations die, companies, nonprofits, even nations. We often think that in a turbulent world, stability is our safety net, but the opposite is true. When turbulence abounds, organizations that can adapt survive. It's worth saying that again. When turbulence abounds, organizations that can adapt survive. Having a death grip on the status quo, denying the need for change, and using history as a roadmap is the surest way to become obsolete. Whether at an individual or a corporate level, we should not be asking if we should change, but how can we change? Learn more about dealing with change in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A West Jordan man is pleading guilty to manslaughter after accidentally shooting his best friend. Charging documents say Anthony Sanchez shot his friend Dylan Douglas Miller-Matome back in 2023. While they were reportedly watching TV when Sanchez pulled out the gun and accidentally shot him while trying to be funny. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says tariffs on certain European imports are about to go up.
The president announced he's now doubling tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, raising them from 25% to 50%. This is starting on Wednesday. The European Commission blasting this move, saying that it only adds to the uncertainty, that it undermines ongoing negotiations, and that they're prepared to respond with countermeasures. And it comes as these tariffs continue to be challenged in court.
ABC's Rachel Scott reporting. Venus flytraps are in full bloom right now in North Carolina. The plants are known for their unique way of trapping insects for nutrients, but rangers at Carolina Beach State Park say the plants are being threatened by people harvesting the plants. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 216 points. That's 0.5% to 42,053. Coming up, it's a pleasant cool down after a hot weekend. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 10:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hey, I really hope you can join us here at KSL News Radio all day long this Wednesday for our annual Giveathon. And in fact, you can donate to help kids at Primary Children's Hospital right now. All you have to do is either visit kslkids.com, and there's a link there to sign you up, or here's something it's really super simple. All you have to do is text the word SMILE to 57500, and you can be a smile maker for as little as $15 a month. And as always, our special thanks to J&J Garden Center for being our Smile Maker sponsor.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Time for another check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards Credit Card Promotion. Heather Kelly's got you covered.
Well, the earlier crash we had southbound 15 in Sandy has cleared. There are no delays anymore. In fact, no slowdowns on I-15 either direction throughout Utah, Salt Lake, or Davis counties. You also have a good commute if you're going through Parley's Canyon to and from Park City. We do have a little bit of congestion, though. It's a bit unusual this time of the day on SR 36, right around Stansbury Parkway, but there is construction in that area and lane restrictions. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Today's high in Salt Lake City will be 80 degrees, down from yesterday's record high of 96. Tomorrow, the high will be 77, then 79 on Wednesday. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 72 degrees in Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So, Aaron, I woke up this morning. I dipped into my email, as I always do every single morning, and I see that Utah is ranked number 2 on Wallet Hub's list of best state economies. I was like, oh, usually I think of us as the best economy in the entire nation. But this time we're number 2, and I think kudos are in order.
Yeah, I also want to say that we came in number 2 after Massachusetts, and I'm a native Utahn, but I did live in Massachusetts just prior to moving back here.
Oh, you did?
So I feel very proud about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you notice a difference in the two economies? Can you just give us your just general
well,
ideas
just
as you
speaking
live there?
anecdotally and thinking about my time there, I was working for a large law firm in Boston, and there's a huge biotech industry in Boston, just huge biotech, and I think that's Fidelity's headquarters state. Just a lot of stuff happening in Massachusetts in that area, and I think it brings a lot of business into the state. So
now while we are number 2 in terms of the nation of best economies, I will have my Debbie Downer moment and say there's probably some people who are screaming at the radio right now saying, well, the economy in my house ain't that great. But here's how we got there, according to Wallet Hub. I guess it says over 80. Chip, help me with this one. Chip Lupo with Wallet Hub live on the line with us once again. You said, what is that? Our median annual household income is over $88,000. Is that part of the reason why we ended up as high as we did on the list?
Good morning, Deb. Morning, Aaron. Yeah, that's a huge part of the reason. Yeah, $88,500, second highest after cost of living adjustment. So affordability is a key factor, and that's the cost of living for the most part. Now, I know folks looking to buy a house in and around Salt Lake City might argue with that, but
right.
Yeah, overall, statewide, it's that's a very solid number for the state, and that's a key factor in our study.
Yeah, I love looking at some of these statistics. You break it down, and Utah just consistently ranks near the top of so many of these lists. We're third in terms of startup activity. We're first in terms of the highest change in GDP. How do you guys look at that, Chip? Like, what are some of the factors you're looking at with that?
Well, what we did, Deb, first of all, let me just circle back to what you were talking about Utah being number 2 and it should be number 1. It's not a question of what Utah is not doing. And Aaron, you alluded to this in your time in Massachusetts. Utah was second a year ago. Last year it was Washington, Utah, Massachusetts. This year Massachusetts and Washington flipped. What Massachusetts has done, they've made a huge jump in our economic health dynamic, going from 43rd to 17th. They invest a ton of money in industry and academic R&D funds more than the other states. So it's not necessarily a slight on Utah, it's just Massachusetts has just made an extraordinary jump from 2024 to 2025. Now, the question is now, and you mentioned Boston, what's going to happen if a certain university loses its federal funding?
I know.
Yeah, so we'll see a year from now if Massachusetts holds that top spot. But what we did overall, Deb, is that we compared all 50 states. We mentioned economic health. We also considered economic activity and innovation potential.
You know, Chip, as you're talking about this, on the Massachusetts thing, I was fascinated when I moved to Boston at how many universities were located right in and around Boston. It's not just Harvard. You've got MIT there. You've got Boston University. You've got all of these
Boston College.
Boston College, right? Like all these different universities. There are the concentration. I have never been surrounded by so many PhD students or so many like doctorate degrees in my entire life. It's a whole thing. And so when you talk about the investment in R&D, the investment in higher education, no question, Massachusetts kind of takes the cake on that. So anyway, just wanted to comment on that.
Right. Now, if you venture outside of Boston, Boston is the hub that drives Massachusetts. You drive further west, you would swear you were in upstate New York. It was so far removed from Boston. So as Boston goes, more or less the state of Massachusetts goes.
One of the things I noticed in this study, and by the way, if you're just jumping on the radio, I'm here this morning with my co-host Aaron Ryder, and then Chip Lupo, who's a writer and an analyst with Wallet Hub, is on the line with us right now talking about this new survey that came out from Wallet Hub that puts ranks Utah second in the nation for best economies. And the average income in the state, according to your research, Chip, between 23 and 2024, grew by about 6%, which, of course, we were dealing with. I was trying to think, did that outpace the cost of living at the time? But maybe it didn't because of the amount of inflation that we were seeing. But that's still a pretty hefty income boost.
Yeah, that's a huge 6.1 increase in average income in a span of 1 year is extraordinary. Keep in mind also that you're getting an influx of folks who are moving into the state from high income, also high tax states. So that's going to play a factor in also. A lot of folks moving in from Colorado, from California, and who knows where else if there's high income and also high taxes.
You know, we've heard recently about California having the fourth largest economy in the world or something like that. But I noticed that they come in, number 4 on your list here?
Number 4.
Yeah, I find that, you know, we especially in Utah, we love to throw a lot of dirt on California. But they are clearly a major player, both in terms of just quantity and also quality when it comes to economies in the nation and economies in the world. So, you know, just wanted to point that out for all of us who love to throw shade on California.
Chip,
right.
I always look at these surveys when they come through, and sometimes we talk about them and sometimes we don't. But I wonder, as an analyst, why you think we should care as residents of the state about where Utah falls in terms of ranking.
Well, I mean, obviously,
because some of these other states, I just want to just finish that thought just a little bit. Some of these other states I looked at in the analysis of them, and I was like, oh, it would be difficult to live there for this reason or that reason. But why didn't you try to help me understand and help us understand why this is important?
Well, it's important for the future because Utah is making a huge investment in high tech, and which is going to be the wave of the future, particularly once AI really starts to take off. Utah is 6th highest share of jobs in high tech industries, the 3rd highest growth rate in the number of businesses, very low unemployment rates, and a really high share of what we call the fast-growing firms. These are the firms that are on this Deloitte Fast 500 list. So it's very important for the future of Utah and any other state to really invest in your economy. Look, things like low unemployment rates, those are going to drive people in there. And, of course, we want to keep the cost of living down also.
Chip Lupo, analyst with Wallet Hub, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, ladies. Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you again, Chip. We really checked a lot of boxes, and he was ticking through those. So straight ahead, the Democratic Party has a new chairperson. It's Brian King, and we're going to invite the new hosts of Inside Sources, which will launch next Monday at 9 a.m. So when you tune in on June 9th at 9 a.m., you're going to hear KSL legal analyst and also ran for political office, former prosecutor, and now criminal defense attorney Greg Skordas on the air, and also former lawmaker and our colleague at the Deseret News, Holly Richardson, on the air. But right now, we're going to bring him into studio in about 90 seconds to analyze the Democratic Party's election of Brian King as their new chairperson.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner.
Your summer body starts right here because Soda's summer savings are on.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to soda, just amazing.
I started on soda 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at Soda Weight Loss. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
This week's movie show is going to be brought to you by My Hearing Centers. Schedule a hearing evaluation and be entered to win a set of premium hearing aids by tuning in Friday from 11 to 1.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I am so excited to talk to Holly Richardson and Greg Skordas, the future hosts of this very time slot, starting next Monday at 9 a.m. All new Inside Sources launches, and Holly and Greg will be taking over. And Aaron Ryder sitting in with me today. Big weekend for the Democratic Party. They elected a new chairperson.
I just want to say that I'm very grateful to have Greg here because I am very clearly a Republican, and so me commenting on the results of the Democratic convention and the new Democratic chair may not be completely fair to the Democratic Party. So it's good that we have
I think you're more fair than maybe I am, sort of going from within. And I was at the convention. It was a lot of fun, Aaron. It was interesting. I haven't been to a convention in a while, but to watch the candidates speak, to watch who had endorsed each one, because you get like a 5-minute time period, and they each had 2 or 3 people introduce them, which meant they all had like 60 seconds. Right. And then the candidate spoke for 2 or 3 minutes, and then people went back and voted. I felt like those speeches did nothing. To me, it seemed like everybody made up their mind before they got there.
You mean endorsements don't matter?
That's always the case, though, isn't it? Right? So sometimes it is who stands up there, especially if you have multiple people on the ballot and then people drop off, right? Who are they standing behind?
So the Democrats elect Brian King.
That's right.
Longtime lawmaker in the state, and also an attorney. Greg, maybe you know him through legal channels as well.
Very well, yes.
Former House Minority Leader, and he ran for governor last year, lost, but now he has been elected as the chairman of the Democratic Party. What's the first order of business for him, Holly, in your view?
I think one of the things that I thought was interesting from his comments was his goal is to unify the Democratic Party in Utah. And he said, and he did this while he was running as the governor, for governor, but he said he wants to take from the furthest left, most active on the left, but all the way through moderate Democrats, but also disaffected Republicans, and see if he can't build some kind of coalition to look for wins in 2026.
Greg?
Yeah, don't you think that there's a tremendous opportunity in this state for Democrats right now? And maybe not...
No.
Aaron.
That was Aaron. Just to clarify, that was Aaron.
I think there are a lot of disenfranchised people in Utah, not just nationally because of what's going on nationally, but what's going on with the state. I think a lot of people are feeling frustrated with the super majority of the state Congress, House of Representatives, let's face it, and the fact that they just control everything, and that it's taking the courts, both nationally and locally, to sort of reel in what's seemingly a drift further and further to the right. So I'm just thinking optimistically, Aaron, and I can see you looking at me like, what the heck is this guy talking about?
No, I'm ready to respond to you, Greg.
Okay, we have midterms, though, coming up.
Right.
There's got to be a shift. There's always a shift from the majority party at midterms, and that's an opportunity that Brian King and Democrats nationally cannot miss the opportunity to take.
Well, here's the thing. If Democrats can figure out their own messaging, I mean, Holly, you were talking about Brian wants to unify the party. Under what umbrella? Like, what is the message of the Democratic Party right now?
Also, to be fair, I think Republicans are struggling with that right now.
Sure.
Right?
But in Utah, right?
People are going to die.
Oh, well, you're referring to the comment from Senator
we were listening.
Ernst.
You're right on target, though, Aaron.
But,
you're right on target.
Here's the thing, right? If you are a Democrat, if you are the chair of the Democratic Party in Utah right now, then winning at the federal level is likely not going to happen, at least right now. So the Democrats, and what the Democrats have been doing is they've been going after municipal races, they've been going after county races, school board races, other types of races. That will matter long term, and maybe next year we see some of that, maybe this year we see some of that. But still, you need a message, right? And if the message from the Utah Democratic Party is just we hate Republicans in the majority, that's not going to be good enough to win.
Right. And Holly made a good point a few minutes ago when we were talking about the fact that you do have to do exactly what you're talking about. And that is look at the House, State House, look at the State Senate, look at some races that there is a possibility to flip in 2 years rather than thinking we're going to set aside Blake Moore or Celeste Malloy, I mean, who are really quite popular.
One of the things I think that happens with midterm elections, is we have a lower voter turnout typically, right, because it's not as flashy as a presidential election. But one of the other things, too, I think, is that we have people who don't have any opponents, right? That the Democrats really, if they would launch an opponent for every single seat, right? I understand it's hard and people don't want to be a sacrificial lamb if there's no chance, right? But every once in a while, there are opportunities that come up where if they had somebody in place, they could have had a shot at taking that seat.
As you look at that, Holly and Greg, where are their best opportunities? Is it at the mayor level? Is it city council level? Is it the school board level? Where are the best opportunities to start winning some seats?
So this year, it is a municipal election in 2025. In 2026, we'll see all of the 75 Utah House members, right, of the Utah legislature, and half of the Senate will be up for election. So I would say Salt Lake County still flips back and forth. There are several seats that will go sometimes Republican, sometimes Democrat. Sometimes Weber County, there's a seat up there that has gone back and forth over the last several cycles. So looking at those races, I think bigger races, like to Greg's point, those are harder to win.
And I think the more you get defeated, the more frustrating it can be. So if you can find a way in at the municipal level, Greg, you suspect, I mean, you were there Saturday. Do you suspect that's the direction they're going to start leaning into more and more?
I heard a lot of some of the local county people talking about county commission races, talking about mayoral races, talking about things like that more than they have in the past. But because going to the big picture and thinking of national races probably isn't realistic. But you're right. You're 100% right. We need to fill all the slots for the local races, Holly, at the next cycle. And even though it might feel like some of them are sacrificial lambs, it shows that Democrats are showing up.
Right. And, municipal races are nonpartisan in the state.
I was going to say that.
But one of the things that people sometimes don't consider is they can be really good launching pads for additional seats, right? So you may have somebody who runs in a nonpartisan municipal race who leans left or is a Democrat, registered Democrat, and then later can leverage that and say, hey, I've served our city, I've served our community, now put me in the state house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big deal, actually. I mean, and this is where Republicans need to be careful that Democrats don't come around and sneak in the back door. And that's what Democrats are doing, right? So I'm putting the caution out to Republicans right now.
Republicans with the super majority in the House.
But, if Democrats are able to take a ton of local municipal seats, like you said, Holly, those can be launching pads for state legislature. And then all of a sudden the supermajority in the state legislature's gone, right? It eats its way up, or it could.
Well, it leads to name recognition. We've talked about that in the past. It also leads to experience. It helps them create a platform of what they want to do if they want to move to the next level. So good luck, Greg.
Thank you. Right.
Good luck, Greg.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to jump over this too much, but even school board, even county commission, even things like that, I think the Democrats have a way to get some name recognition and get some people elected.
They do on the nonpartisan level. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been fun having you guys in studio with us today. I'm so looking forward to next Monday at 9 a.m. when the new show, the all-new Inside Sources, launches with Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson. Are you guys getting excited?
Yeah, it's really exciting. As we get closer, it's more and more exciting. But, Debbie, you've been a great mentor. I've loved working with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can keep the momentum that you've got going here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I will be listening from my sofa on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks so much. Greg Skordas, Holly Richardson. Greg, I think you're with me here for the entire show tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be here with you. Yep.
Awesome.
Sign me up.
And Holly, you're in as well anytime you want to walk through those doors. So thanks for jumping in on this conversation. And by the way, Caitlin, do we have Brian King confirmed for tomorrow? Just give me a thumbs up through the window. Yes, we do. So the new chairman of the Democratic Party, Brian King, joining us tomorrow on the show.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a chronic migraine clinical trial. Located just minutes from Salt Lake City with plenty of free parking, this study is open to children ages 12 to 17 who suffer from chronic migraines. To pre-qualify, your child must have 8 or more migraine attacks each month and at least 15 headache days. They should also currently be taking or have taken oral medication for migraine relief. All study-related visits, tests, and medications will be provided at no cost. Plus, reimbursement for study-related travel may also be available. As a parent, it's never easy to watch your child suffer. This is your chance to help them find relief. For more information, call Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's Pantheon Clinical Research, 385-281-0550. Or visit us online at pantheonclinical.com. Again, that's 385-281-0550. Or go to pantheonclinical.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and My Lowe's Pro Rewards members can save even more with limited time deals. Right now, buy one, get one half off select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams primer and ceiling paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13, delivery by 8 p.m., subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the Knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information, and never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jessica Lowell. KSL's top story this hour. Police have located a 15-year-old girl from South Jordan who'd been missing for nearly 6 weeks. She was found alive in Colorado. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
South Jordan police are telling me 15-year-old walked into the Colorado Springs Police Department last night out of the blue and told them who she was. They say she's in good health and have notified her family she's safe. Now they're working to reunite them for the first time since April 21st. Police say while they're overjoyed she's okay, their work is far from over as 3 men still sit in police custody in connection with her case.
A Florida man accused of communicating with her before she disappeared is scheduled to be in court this afternoon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Supreme Court won't hear a case challenging a ban on AR-15 semi-automatic rifles.
In turning down the challenge and letting the Maryland law stand, the court is not setting a new precedent. 3 of the court's conservatives said they would have taken the case. Justice Clarence Thomas writes the question is of critical importance to tens of millions of law-abiding AR-15 owners throughout the country. Thomas was joined in dissent by colleagues Samuel Alito and Neil Gorsuch. Justice Brett Kavanaugh said in a statement that the court should and likely will revisit the issue soon, possibly in the next term or 2.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting Ukraine and Russia are talking, but they haven't made any breakthroughs. Delegations from both countries met in Turkey for their second round of direct peace talks in just over 2 weeks. Yesterday, both sides unleashed a string of long-range attacks. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 136 points, NASDAQ up 73. Coming up, cooler temperatures this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, I was there for opening night of 12 Angry Men at Hale Center Theater. When Mark Dietlein introduced the opening night performance, he said, boy, you know, we rarely present something like this at Hale Center Theater. It is a true drama, and Mark was absolutely right. The angst you feel, the prejudice you feel, the despair almost, and even the heartbreak of a father concerned about a son, it all goes into the deliberation of this jury that is going to decide whether a man lives or dies. And unfolding on the stage, we see what one person can do. 12 Angry Men, you've got to see it at Hale Center Theater. And right now, just down the hall, we couldn't go for a bigger difference when we're talking about Finding Neverland. 2 wonderful performances are underway right now at Hale Center Theater. Get your tickets. Go to hct.org. And don't miss 12 Angry Men.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are 2 very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
There's never been a better time to test drive that Hyundai you've always wanted. Visit your Utah Hyundai dealers today.
Imagine waking up every morning with a smile you're proud of. No more hiding, no more pain. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's Best of State winner for 3 years in a row, has helped thousands of people ditch the dentures and say goodbye to missing or broken teeth. Their expert team specializes in giving you a permanent, natural-looking smile with dental implants that feel and function just like real teeth. With over 2,000 5-star Google reviews, their patients say it best.
Dental implants gave me my life back. I feel confident again. I feel like I can be myself.
There was no way I was getting dentures. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been the best decision of my life.
Let the expert team at Stubbs Dental help you take the first step to changing your life with dental implants. Schedule your complimentary consultation today, a $350 value, absolutely free. Visit StubbsDental.com today. That's StubbsDental.com. StubbsDental.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We're accident-free right now on all the major roadways, I-15, East and West Side Belt Routes, 201 Freeway, as well as city streets all across the Wasatch Front. So that's great news for anybody traveling. The only thing you may run into are construction barrels, especially on Bangor Highway in Taylorsville and down in Utah County in Saratoga Springs on Mountain View Corridor and 2100 North. Discover the art of adventure in Cedar City, the gateway to parks, plays, high-elevation recreation, ATV and downhill trails, chairlifts, rides, topped off with unique shops and savory bites. Plan at visitcedarcity.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Highs in the 70s and 80s for the rest of the week. Mostly dry in northern Utah and southern Utah. Chances of showers throughout this week with possibilities of flash flooding in the canyons. Right now it's 72 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Jessica Loa from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com or Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, if you woke up like me this morning and you looked up the latest news stories on your app or you checked your news alerts like you get from KSL News Radio like I do, then you're probably relieved to see that missing 15-year-old Alyssa Petrov from South Jordan, who's been missing for about 6 weeks, found her way into a Colorado Springs Police Department, I believe it was yesterday, and said, "I'm the missing teen from South Jordan." And what a relief I felt. Erin Ryder in with me today, and I'm sure you felt the same.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, what a happy and also kind of lucky ending to this story, at least so far. I think there are a lot of questions about what has happened to this girl, where she's been, what she's been doing for the last month while she's been missing. But the fact that she could just walk into this police station in Colorado and say, "Hey, here I am," I mean, it could have been a much worse result.
As I was reading through the developments this morning, and Garna Mejia of KSL5 TV, you've been tracking this closely. I saw that you broke the story yesterday, and it was posted on KSL5 TV's website late last night. I think it was just a few minutes before midnight. My feeling was, just from my years of experience in covering cases a little similar to this, is that I felt like this was a lucky break that the South Jordan Police Department got. I wasn't quite sure they were close to finding her, but maybe you know differently.
Yeah, Debbie, good morning. And, I think right now what everyone is experiencing is just this huge sense of relief and feeling that this, like you mentioned, this could have been just so much worse. And the sense that they can reunite this teen with her parents, with her family, and start that healing process. And it was late last night. I received a tip. Someone had heard something over a scanner and said, "Hey, I'm hearing this. I know you've been covering it. Is this accurate?" And started making phone calls. The South Jordan Police Department was, we've been hearing something similar. Give me a second to get confirmation. And that confirmation did come in very quickly, that Elisa had walked into this police department, Colorado Springs, and identified herself. The family was, of course, notified before that confirmation came down, and my understanding is that they were quickly moving to head in that direction to be reunited with her. They've posted on they had started this website it was first called missingalisa.com, then findalisa.com. And they had this update just thanking everyone and saying, thank you for the tips, thank you for the prayers, thank you to the South Jordan Police Department, the FBI, Missing in America Network, just everybody that kind of worked to find her. And, we've seen that there has been so much activity with the South Jordan Police Department. We're kind of following the breadcrumbs with court records, but there are 3 men who have been identified and arrested in connection to that investigation into her disappearance. None of them charged with kidnapping, but charges related to possessing and child sexual abuse material on their phones, being in contact with her, leading up to her disappearance, and even on the day she disappeared.
One of them is supposed to be one of those men is supposed to be in court this afternoon, and as you correctly pointed out, none of these 3 individuals have been charged in connection with her physical disappearance, but in fact with charges such as aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, enticement of a minor, criminal solicitation, and they're from, quite frankly, all over the country. We've got one man from Miami in his 30s, another man from Texas also in his 30s, and then this individual from Harriman in his 40s. And it seems as though, according to the allegations from authorities, that they were basically caught communicating with her. Garna?
That's correct, Debbie. All 3 of these men had, I believe, I know 2 of them were in contact with her the day she disappeared, Matthew Menard and William Taylor Glines. Menard is the one from Florida. Glines is the one from Texas. The man from Harriman, his name, and I just spaced it, forgive me for that, okay, but he was in contact with her leading up to that disappearance. 2 days before she disappeared, she said to him, don't contact me, I'm running away. Matthew Menard was of interest to the parents. I spoke with them, Thursday, Friday, And Nikolai Petrov, Elisa's dad, was telling me that he just really felt strongly that this man had more information that maybe could have that key information to getting them in contact to locating Elisa. And the reason is because he was actually giving her tips and information on how to stay hidden, how to not be tracked by police, how to not use her phone, those kinds of things. And they had a plan to meet up. She was going to go to Las Vegas because he had a work trip there. They had planned to go to Los Angeles and end up in Miami, where he allegedly, had told her that he was going to tell people that she was his daughter. And that's how he was going to kind of keep a cover in that respect. He went kind of dark. We don't know what happened to him. He did have contact with police in Miami. When that arrest warrant came down, they didn't arrest him for over a week because the Attorney General's office was saying that they couldn't find him, locate him. And then he just turned himself in Utah. So I think there's still a lot to understand and connect those puzzle pieces and really see, these three cases kind of be carried out in the state of Utah. The man from Texas does have charges in Texas as well.
Garna, do we know how she ended up in Colorado?
I don't know. I think that's the big question. And I think, hopefully we'll continue to get that information. But I think you'll also see that our coverage will change slightly. She's underage. These are really serious allegations that the other men faced in relationship to her. And so we won't be, moving forward, identifying her with her name. We'll use her age and, being a teen. But I think for us, our coverage really has been focused on, those pictures and identifying her because she was missing. And so I think we'll just kind of see that shift.
Yes, absolutely, Garna. And then I'm just looking, I just mapped. I've been through Colorado Springs several times because I had kids who went to college in Kansas, so we drove that route from time to time. And I was thinking, I know it's at least an 8-hour drive. Well, according to maps, it's an 8.5-hour drive. It's almost 600 miles away. So I know that's probably going to be one of the questions is how did she get there? Did she have any assistance getting there? But I think what's most important, and you rightfully pointed this out off the top of this conversation, is how is she doing? So what do we know about her?
We know what her parents have posted is, they're happy, they're grateful. The South Jordan Police Department was very clear yesterday to say she is healthy. She is safe. She can be reunited with her parents and, again, start that healing process. I'm sure the detectives have a lot of questions for her to ensure that there hasn't been any other criminal activity, anybody else that needs to be held responsible. And I think they have, the same questions we do. How did she get to Colorado Springs? And did somebody that should not have, help her or exploit her or take advantage of her in any way? We had those tips that there was real strong thought. And even the parents were telling me that they had neighbors and friends drive to Las Vegas to put flyers in Las Vegas because they thought that would be a key place. How she ended up in Colorado Springs, we don't know, and hopefully we'll find out through that investigation. But again, I think that will change. Our coverage will change in showing her pictures and showing her name.
Yeah. Garna Mejia from KSL 5 TV, thank you for joining us this morning.
And I think another question is and thankfully she did, how did she find the police department that she walked into?
She must have known she was missing, or that they were looking for her.
That we're looking for. Greg Rogers, retired FBI special agent, is on the line with us right now. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Greg and I worked together when I was a spokesperson for the FBI, and Greg, you've seen plenty of these types of cases, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the allegations against these men, that this is still, I mean, of course they're just allegations, but this type of stuff is still going on, and that men are trying to reach out to minors over the internet, and parents need to be on guard at all times.
At all times, the unsupervised use of apps, and even now on gaming systems, you can have conversations with people that you don't know, that contact you. But parents need to realize that these predators are unfortunately very talented manipulators. They're very good at identifying kids that they want to work and that they want to groom, and again, I'm very unfortunately successful at doing it.
Greg, this just has to feel so overwhelming for parents right now to think, how do I keep track of what my kids are doing when they can access the internet in 1,000 different ways? What are maybe some practical tips that you might have for parents who are listening to this story and just thinking, I don't know how to do this?
Parents need to understand, and you can do it in a non-overbearing way, but you need to be checking in with your kids and just simply asking them, who are you talking to? I mean, and not in a way that's like they're in trouble. I raised 3 daughters who are thankfully now all adults, but it's, they weren't, and this may sound a little overbearing, but you shouldn't allow your kid to have an iPhone in their room all by themselves all night, and laptops, and hours of unsupervised use is something bad is going to happen. So I think parents should consider always asking their kids who you're talking to. Do you know that person? How'd you meet them? Those are normal questions, and I think it's just something parents have to do. You can't allow your kids to be talking to folks online that they don't know, because that 15-year-old they think is their best buddy, and they want to meet, somewhere and go do something fun. It very likely is an older predator.
Well, how frequent does that still happen, where older individuals pose as somebody as though they're a teenager? And I've covered stories. I know it worked with you guys, so I know that it was pretty frequent in the past. Does that still go on, where they're online but tricking kids to think that they are actually a teenager when they're maybe in their 50s or 60s?
Every day. All day, every day. I mean, it's I used to, when I was teaching, I would teach in schools and teach parents, and I would get online. It could be 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I would get online and I would say, all right, I'm going to go on this particular app and I'm going to start talking. And I guarantee you, while, I'm giving this lecture, in 10 or 15 minutes, someone's going to hit on me. And I'd be online acting like I was a 13 or 14-year-old boy. And almost 100% of the time it would happen. Somebody would be like, hey, want to be your buddy. They want to meet somewhere. It's unfortunately, it happens all day, every day. These predators are on gaming systems. They're on different social media accounts, and that's what they do. That's what they do. That's why they get up in the morning. That's their passion. And it's and again, unfortunately, they're very good at it. And parents just need to be very cognizant of that and need to be asking their kids who they're talking to.
I have been watching a show on Netflix, and it's a show that's been out for a couple of years, but I'm just kind of getting around to it on the recommendation of a friend. And one of the storylines, it's about, some teenagers and teenage drama and all the things. But there's a storyline where a young teenage boy meets someone online and they become friends, and he thinks it's someone who's his same age, and they decide to meet up. He goes to meet up, and it turns out it's an older man, and he has this moment of, whoa, you're not who I expected. I don't think I should be here. And the older man is like, no, it's fine. I'm also lonely. I just have some pizza with me. And it clearly progresses, and to the point where the kid says, I'm out. I'm leaving. And he just gets up and leaves. And I actually thought it was really interesting to see this scene on this show, because this is a show that is in many ways targeted to a younger audience. And even just talking about it, right? Having friends who can talk about it, showing that and showing the kid walking away and saying, this is not right. This is not what this is supposed to be, and just getting up and leaving. I don't know. I was actually really impressed that they decided to put that in the show and to address it, because, you know, parents are one thing, and it can be hard sometimes for parents not to come across as overbearing. But if you also have the dynamic where kids are talking about it together, and you have the peer, the peer-to-peer, like, hey, you know, oh, that's creepy, you don't want to engage with that. That's an extra layer that I think can be helpful in this conversation.
Yeah, and I think schools should be, there should be a class at every school, starting in elementary school, about the dangers of this and talking to your parents. And, you know, we teach kids all sorts of things about, you know, how they should be cautious. And you know, you hear all that stranger danger stuff. But kids should be very comfortable in saying to their parents, and this could come from schools, and it should certainly come from parents. You know, you'd hope it would be a normal conversation where your kid would come to you and say, yeah, hey, I was on my Xbox today, and somebody got on there and said they want to meet me somewhere, and I don't really know them. That's a conversation that kids should be comfortable having with their parents. And the parents, as soon as they have that conversation, should be calling the cops, and they should be figuring out who that person is.
Yeah, Greg, and we had a couple of occasions when our kids were teenagers, and it was thanks to, you know, a lot of questions that I had for our special agents at the FBI when I worked there about like how to navigate as a parent with my kids growing up and wanting to get on social media. But one of our daughters came to us and said, "Oh, I was contacted by this celebrity, you know, and it was, you know, and she brought it to us, and it actually just recently reminded of us. This is about 15 years ago, and it you know, I think maybe it's a little less than that because she's almost 30 now, so maybe 15 when she was 15 or 16." She said, and she's like, I don't think it's the actual celebrity. And I said, I think you're right. So we looked into it, and sure enough, it wasn't the actual celebrity. But you brought up earlier, and I think it's important to point out, we're not just talking about young girls. We are also talking about young boys being victimized as well. I think that's really important for parents who have sons, that it is not just daughters that could be subjected to this.
No, and when you mentioned that show, that's a great end result. But parents need to also realize that a lot of these predators aren't going to let that kid walk away.
Yeah.
So it can be much, much more dangerous. And thankfully, our case here in Utah worked out very well. We'll take luck when we can get it. We're thrilled she was able to get away and walk to the police station. But that's often not the case. So parents, again, really need to realize that some of these predators, their whole goal is to get that kid to a certain place where they can grab them, and it's going to end up much worse. It's not going to be a situation where that kid can willingly walk away.
Well, as always, Greg Rogers, very, very timely, important, smart advice for parents of retired FBI Special Agent Greg Rogers on the line with us, talking about online communications when people pose as somebody they really aren't online and try to lure children into either meeting or having conversations that no child should ever be subjected to.
It's been so important in this news show to hear how the news is impacting you.
Midday.
How this is really going to impact your life or your children's safety or your husband's job. To hear that wow moment from you.
Midday with Maria Shilaos.
I invite you to join us from noon to 3 right here on KSL News Radio.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Nothing says summer like double rewards on your Mountain America Rewards credit card. Get 2 times the points on everything from gas and groceries to travel and home projects. Now through July 31st, 2025. Oh, wow. It's the perfect way to stretch your dollar and make summer doubly rewarding. Apply for your Mountain America Rewards credit card at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply.
An Australian hiker travels to the American West to walk a wilderness trail.
Wasn't afraid to be out on his own.
But Eric Robinson vanished in the high Uinta Mountains.
I remember thinking, Eric, what were you thinking, mate?
I'm Dave Cawley. Join me on my podcast, Uinta Triangle, where I travel the world to answer the question, what happened to Eric Robinson? Follow Uinta Triangle. That's UINTA Triangle on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a clinical study for children and teens. Is your child struggling with bipolar depression? If your child is between 10 and 17 years old and experiencing symptoms of depression associated with bipolar disorder, such as persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, trouble sleeping, low energy, difficulty concentrating, or even suicidal thoughts, Pantheon Clinical Research may be able to help. We are ready to take your call anytime. Call our phone lines at Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. We're conducting a no-cost clinical study for children and teens facing bipolar depression. Participants will receive study-related care, medical tests, and investigational treatment from a dedicated medical team, all at no cost and with no health insurance required. Call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550, or visit our website at pantheonclinical.com to learn more. Hope starts here.
Are you looking for the perfect downtown lunch spot? The Garden Restaurant is opening on June 30th in Salt Lake City. Enjoy a reimagined space and a fresh, healthy menu featuring handcrafted sandwiches, rich soups, unique salads, and their famous homemade pot pies. You'll see and taste the difference in every menu item. The Garden is perfect for lunch meetings, taking a break while out shopping, or a spring stroll downtown. Visit the reimagined space with remarkable taste. Grab and go or stay and dine in using a new online ordering option. Find entry from the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, open Monday through Friday, 11 to 3. Visit thegardenslc.com to learn more. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant is opening June 30th. Hope to see you there. Visit thegardenslc.com to learn more. thegardenslc.com.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Flash flooding is possible in all of our national parks and probable in Zion National Park and Grand Staircase Escalante this week. National Weather Service meteorologist John Wilson says you might want to reconsider your plans if you're thinking about hitting a slot canyon.
It only takes around 6 inches of flowing water to take you off your feet, and so these slot canyons can fill up much higher than that.
Wilson says there will be a risk of flash flooding in these areas through Wednesday, but it should go down after that. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is reacting to yesterday's flamethrower attack in Boulder, Colorado that left 8 people injured.
President Trump responding to the attack in Boulder, Colorado, the day after it happened, writing in a social media post that it will not be tolerated. The Department of Homeland Security said Monday the man suspected of carrying out the attack during a pro-Israel demonstration is in the U.S. illegally. His B-2 visa, typically a tourism visa, expired in February 2023. President Trump writes in his post, quote, "This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland." Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 194 points. The S&P is down 1 point. And coming up, a high of 80 today. KSL Weather's next KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We are just 2 days away from the always exciting and pretty amazing Giveathon. It's amazing because of what you all do for the children at Primary Children's Hospital. By just opening up your hearts and your pocketbooks. So Wednesday, all day, right here on KSL News Radio, you will hear our Giveathon. But you can help before then. And just do it right now. You know, if it's safe to do so, text the word SMILE to 57500. And what that will give you is we'll send you a way that you can sign up for to become a smile maker. For as little as $15 a month, you can be a smile maker for the children at Primary Children's Hospital. So our thanks, as always, to J&J Garden Center for being our Smile Maker sponsor. And don't forget, tune in Wednesday right here to KSL News Radio for Primary Children's Hospital Giveathon.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meeks.
No accidents reported. Valley Freeway traffic looking really good. We do have some slowdowns southbound Bangerter Highway as you go from South Jordan Parkway, about 104th South, down into the Riverton, just before Riverton at 114th South. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 80 today. Storms are passing through in southern Utah. The rest of the week is partly cloudy. A high of 77 tomorrow and 70 on Wednesday. Right now, 79 on Wednesday. Right now it is 74 and mostly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Well, I did not realize this, and thanks to Erin Ryder, she's here to educate me on this, that races for the municipal elections started to open up today.
Yeah.
Fill us in on what's going on. And we've been talking a lot about why municipal local elections are so important, particularly earlier today when we were talking to the future hosts of this time slot, Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson, for the all-new Inside Sources, which it launches Monday morning at 9 a.m. We were talking about them about the election of Brian King to be their new party chair, and how part of it looks like the future roadmap for the Democrats will be to try to win more local offices. So on the heels of that discussion, Aaron, bring into focus for us, if you will, the municipal elections, which ones are opening up and which races are you going to be watching?
Yeah, so in Utah, just keep in mind that on the odd years, we typically deal with municipal elections. So that's going to be your mayor, your city council, service districts like your water service district, something.
That one definitely draws me to the polls.
I know it does.
Yeah.
But those kinds of elections take place in odd years. Even years is when you have races like governor, Senate, House members, the legislature, county races, etc. So off-cycle years is what they're called, odd years. We're just beginning that process right now. You may have started to see already some stuff popping up about people running for different offices. But
I did. I just saw some signs the other day.
Yeah, like they're starting to crop
through.
up now.
Yeah.
But today starts the filing deadline for many of those races. Not all of them, but many of them. The filing deadline for cities and towns goes from June 2nd to June 6th. Now, the reason I'm caveating that is because if you're in a city that has ranked choice voting, then those races, the filing deadline doesn't start until August. So I live in Mill Creek. Mill Creek is a ranked choice voting city, which means that our city council seats are not going to open for filing until August. But everybody else is going to be June 2nd through the 6th, so this week. And then we'll have a primary for those races, and then the general will be in November.
Aaron Ryder, one of our political insiders here at KSL News Radio, you hosted frequently the afternoons, Inside Sources in the afternoons, and you've also run 2 races yourself as a candidate.
Yeah. So these races, people don't often think about the impact of municipal races, but these races are really critical because they are the ones making the decisions that are closest to you. So if you think about things like zoning ordinances, what housing is available in your area, what people can build and what they can't build, that's your city who decides that. That's your city council and your mayor who make those decisions. The businesses that get attracted to your town, the crime that's, how they handle crime, that's the city who runs all of those decisions. It's not really even the state. And we've seen some interesting tension in the last couple of years where the state is trying to deal with our housing crisis here in Utah, but they keep hitting roadblocks because the cities are not willing to make changes to zoning ordinances that would open us up for higher density housing.
Well, we focused on that last week on the show on Friday. When Adam Gardner was sitting in the chair, we were talking about the governor's pitch and push to build 35,000 new starter homes by the year 2028.
Yeah.
And when I checked the data on Friday to see where things are at, it seemed like we were maybe to 14% of that goal. I think it was like 5,100
homes. Like 5,000 houses.
Yeah. So the governor has been meeting with municipal leaders to try to figure out ways to get this jump started and get them as excited about this as he is.
Yeah.
And what you're saying, I think a lot of Utahns are relating to the situation with the housing crisis right now and the lack of affordable housing and particularly for first-time home buyers. And so what you're saying is it really starts with the city councils, mainly with the city councils and maybe the mayor's offices.
It absolutely does. And if you looked at that that press conference that Governor Cox had last week, who was standing there with him? It was mayors of local cities and towns because they have to have the cities on board if they want to promote this. So if you're concerned about housing in your area, you should be looking at who's running for your city council or for your mayor. And those races often they're not all running at the same time every year. In Mill Creek, I think 2 of our city council seats are up this year, and our mayor is not up for re-election. So it's really, it's not like the entire city council changes over at one time. But when it comes to, traffic flow in your area, taxes in your area, a lot of property taxes are now being pushed to the cities, especially as more and more cities have incorporated and moved out from under the county's jurisdiction. So if you're concerned about your property taxes, you probably should be paying attention to who is running for your city council or for mayor.
What races local races are you and eyeing most closely?
Yeah, we have some interesting ones up this year. So just thinking kind of along the Wasatch Front here, we're going to have an interesting race in Provo for Provo mayor. The current mayor is running for re-election, and a former state legislator is running against her. So that'll be an interesting race. The Riverton mayor is an open seat. Mayor Trent Staggs stepped down recently, and we've got a couple
candidates. He wasn't going to run again.
Yeah, so we've got a couple candidates who are running in that race. Sandy mayor, we've got the incumbent mayors running for re-election, and one of the city council members is challenging her in that race. So we're going to have an interesting race there. So it kind of, there's some big changes that could happen in some of these cities around the Wasatch Front.
We were talking earlier with Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson about what direction the Democrats go in under their new leadership. And we were talking about their focus, and we talked to a member of the Democratic Party last week about the focus of the future and really focusing on these municipal elections and getting a Democrat, even though these are apolitical, nonpartisan.
Yeah, these are nonpartisan. Well, yes, so they're technically nonpartisan.
Right. So how does that work if that's the goal of the Democratic Party, but these are nonpartisan elections?
Well, if you think about it, if you're the Democratic Party, you're the minority party in Utah, you want to win some races, you want to have an impact on policy, where do you go? You go to nonpartisan races where you don't have to say which party you're part of.
But people just look that up, though.
Not really. How do you look it up?
You don't think so?
Unless you ask a candidate, unless a candidate puts it on their website, you can kind of sometimes tell based on the types of things that candidates are saying on their website. But if you just have a whole bunch of candidates that are talking about things like zoning ordinances, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't. And so you see the Democratic Party going after a lot of these municipal races because that's where they're winning, honestly.
How does that work as a strategy?
Once you get those people there, then they start to earn name recognition. They start to build momentum. And then when you have a county seat open up, when you have, for example, Natalie Pinckney, who was recently elected to the Salt Lake County Council, she started on the South Salt Lake City Council, and now she's on the Salt Lake County Council, right? So you can just kind of move your way up and keep going. And if you build a reputation as being someone who can work within the framework, even if you're part of the minority, you have a better chance of getting elected to a higher seat.
Okay. Great analysis. We'll count on you to keep an eye on all of that. Do you think you're going to have any interesting people add their names to the list this week?
Oh, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, it's harder to watch in municipal races because each city, where you register, depends on the race you're running for. But I think we're going to have some very interesting races this year.
All right. Straight ahead, you see the story of the Salt Lake City Police Department asking for a new budget of nearly $135 million. It's according to a story that I caught this weekend on KSL.com. It's a pretty significant increase from last year's budget. We'll tell you how much they're asking for specifically in that increase and what they want to use the money for next.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Groundworks is the nation's leading and fastest growing foundation repair and water management company, now serving the Salt Lake region. Their team brings decades of experience, innovative solutions, unmatched quality, and industry-leading warranties. General Manager Matthew Denny joins us with more.
At Groundworks, we're proud to be Salt Lake City's go-to experts for basement waterproofing, foundation repair, and concrete repair services that last. While we're new to the Salt Lake community, we bring decades of experience from across the country, along with a strong commitment to doing things right the first time. We don't believe in temporary fixes. Our goal is to deliver permanent solutions that homeowners can truly count on, protecting your home, your safety, and your peace of mind every step of the way. With fully trained technicians, industry-leading products, and nationally backed warranties, we're here to help you protect your biggest investment. What really sets Groundworks apart is our mission to make a direct and lasting impact on every community we serve. We're more than just a service provider. We're your neighbor, and we're always here to help. To learn more or schedule a free inspection, visit groundworks.com.
Groundworks stands out for its customer-first approach, delivering honest assessments and dependable solutions. Their team is dedicated to building trust through quality work, clear communication, and a commitment to protecting homes in every season, year after year. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, the Salt Lake City Police Department asking for, is it a $15 million budget increase?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
12.5%, $15 million. Yep.
So the proposed budget comes in at $135 million. And then there's a couple of areas, and Aaron and I are going to finish out the show by focusing on these two areas that they're really looking at putting some of this money. One is wage increases for police officers.
Yep, they're asking for wage increases. They're also asking for increase. Well, that includes about $1.5 million for overtime increases, and this also. So it's about $13.4 million. So almost all of the increase goes towards salaries and benefits, and that includes an 8.7% wage increase after they struck a deal with the Salt Lake City Police Association on a 3-year collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, so they strike this deal. They need money to fund these wage increases, but there's also been a pretty strong push to increase response times.
Yes.
Get to crimes faster. To work on areas of the city. For example, the Jordan River Parkway, where there's been some people experiencing homelessness, have taken to that area and have been for years. This is not a new issue. When I covered homeless issues back 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, this was an issue there. It still seems to be pretty persistent. Police, they've been focusing on that, but it ebbs and flows. And so I guess the idea is find some sort of a permanent policing solution. It's not just a policing issue. There's other issues that need to be addressed too. But find some sort of a policy or a policing objective that keeps that area free from crime and safe for the residents who want to use that area. But you can't do that if you can't keep police officers on staff and if cops are running from call to call to call to call to call. They also need a break. So my feeling on wage increases is it's market driven. You have to pay police officers enough to want to stay with that job for now. I believe the retirement is for 25 years for young officers. It might be 20. I don't know if they've gone back to the 20-year plan, but I was married to a police officer for 21 years. And, we've actually been in position, we were in a position in the 90s when he was a more of a rookie officer of just not even being able to afford to financially support a family. So I have probably a built-in bias about police pay because I was the wife of a cop and we were trying to make ends meet. It is the reason why I took 1.5 years off of news reporting. I only took 1.5 years off of news reporting and came back to work and knocked on the door at KSL Television many years ago. A blessing, as it turns out, because now I've been here almost 21 years. And we needed a second income. So it was impossible for me really financially to stay at home with the kids full time on his salary. So I have a lot of compassion for that, but maybe you come at it from a different perspective.
Well, I think there's a push and pull here with this, right? You need your law enforcement officers to be well paid. You need people to be incentivized to go into this as a profession and to care about it and to want to do well at it. You have to do that. And if we are not putting the investment there that needs to be there, then let's do it, right? Let's make the investment. I think where there is a challenge here, and we have a new police chief in Salt Lake City, The challenge for our new police chief, Chief Brian Redd, is what does he do with the money, right? Because Salt Lake City taxpayers are already paying a lot of taxes right now. A lot. If you live in Salt Lake City, your property taxes are high right now. And that's just because of things that have changed in the last few years. And that's probably going to increase over the next several years as well. So if we're now, where do the funds come from for this? If we're going to ask for more money from taxpayers, then we need to know what taxpayers can expect in return. And one of the frustrations with the Salt Lake City Police Department, particularly in the realm of homelessness, is that nothing has changed. Nothing has improved and nothing has gotten better, which I think is part of the reason why Chief Redd is there. So if we increase all of these wages, if we increase this budget for the police department and we don't see an improvement, that's going to backfire.
I would caution about the nothing has changed. I think there has been some changes, but I think what maybe I've seen is a shifting of where people are camping. So we talked about, in the past where the homeless shelter was and Gateway. And now that I walk Gateway, I don't see the homeless situation hitting Gateway the way I did. Maybe I'm missing it the way I did back in the day. But also Gateway isn't as populated as it used to be with shoppers. But where I think we've seen a shift is into other pockets of the community. So maybe one area has seen a change, but other areas have seen an increase in the homeless population moving in and camping.
And maybe that's true. When I was running for Salt Lake County Mayor last year, homelessness was a huge issue on the campaign trail. And I had business owners in Salt Lake City tell me that they had to hire their own private security to come in and to take care of their facilities because Salt Lake City police wouldn't do it, or they couldn't get them to show up. And there could be 1,000 reasons for that, right? But that is a frustration. So if you're a business owner in Salt Lake City, if you're a resident in Salt Lake City, and it doesn't seem like you're getting what you need in terms of some of these issues of crime, homelessness, etc., then asking those taxpayers to pay more taxes for something like salaries, and we just saw Mayor Erin Mendenhall get a lot of pushback for asking for her own salary increase for the same reasons. So I think that's the challenge here that Chief Redd is going to face.
What you're saying is there needs to be a profound return on investment.
Yeah. And I think if people see that, they're happy to do it because we need good law enforcement. We're happy to support that. But there's just an interesting tension there right now with an undercurrent that people are already paying really high taxes.
I would say the other thing that the Salt Lake City Police Department has struggled with over the years, and I'm speaking from experience in reporting on this, is response times and response times lagging behind what is considered like the national standard for response times for a police department. And they break it up into priority 1 calls, which are the highest priority, and they break it down from there. If you see somebody jaywalking and you call police, well, it might be several hours before they respond to your call. I understand if at all, quite frankly. But if you've seen somebody just rob a business, that's going to be a more elevated call, and you have to continue to, I think, pound away at whittling down those response times, because when people are victimized by crime, and those crimes are more likely to impact people than maybe other issues, they want a response time that's reasonable. They might understand if it's 30 minutes if it's not a priority call, but in the moment that's the most important thing that's happening to them, and they want to see a cop respond.
Yeah.
But when I was doing stories on this back in the day, sometimes these police officers were getting to these calls the next day. Now, they weren't the priority 1 calls, they were the lower priority calls. That just can't continue to happen if you're going to continue to ask residents to pay more in property taxes, to fund more police officers, to raise their pay. Residents need a return on investment. That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line, right? And again, I think we are all open to the idea that there are some areas in government that need more investment, frankly, and putting more money into them gives you what you need out of that. But, that's the task for Chief Redd, is he's got to prove it.
Straight ahead, Maria's up next with more information on the missing 15-year-old girl out of South Jordan. We've reported throughout the show that she is alive. She is safe after she's gone missing for nearly 6 weeks. And she walked into a police department in Colorado Springs. Maria's got more on that.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Styling. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
And 6/22/25. New customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. It is time for our annual spring clearance sale at Arctic Spas. Tons of hot tubs, swim spas, all-weather pools, saunas, and cold tubs all on sale at up to $7,500 off. Yes, up to $7,500 off. Just in time for the summer fun to begin. Plus, we have a few models left over from last year, like an Arctic Spa Polaris, a 7-foot by 7-foot with 40 massaging jets, 2 pumps, ozone water purification, UV water purification, multicolored LED lights, and a waterfall, now discounted to $89.95. Swim spas starting out at $19,995. This brings a pool to your backyard all year long, but especially for the family fun this summer. Comfort and convenience is on sale with our automated saltwater system. Or save even more with almost new refurbished Arctic Spas from years past. Start out online at arcticspasutah.com to pick out your favorite spa. Then stop by one of our 3 Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah: Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
A new home for Inside Sources.
I'd say give us a try. My name is Greg Skordas.
Hello, this is Holly Richardson.
Give us that opportunity to tell you what we know and to share your thoughts with us.
Inside Sources, weekday mornings, 9 to noon, starting next Monday on KSL News Radio.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Midday. I'm Maria Chaleos. Aren't Mondays always hard? KSL's top story this hour. The missing 15-year-old girl out of South Jordan is alive and safe after nearly 6 weeks of searching. Investigators say that she walked into the Colorado Springs Police Department and told them who she was. The first man tied to her disappearance is set to face a Utah judge today. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live with the latest. Eric?
Maria, in just about an hour, 26-year-old Matthew Menard of Florida will appear in a Utah County courtroom for a preliminary hearing, facing charges of sexual exploitation and enticing a minor. He turned himself in last week after police say he messaged the 15-year-old on social media before she vanished. 3 men were arrested before investigators found her alive in Colorado Springs, but it's still a mystery how she got there or who she was with. While her safe return brought relief, the case is far from over as detectives keep digging for answers. Live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
We should soon start learning more about the other men already charged in the South Jordan teens case.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skorda says the court documents already filed paint a tough picture.
They charged these men several weeks ago. They charged them with chatting with her on May 12th. So you wonder what has happened in the intervening, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks between the time when they were charged. And these are very, very serious charges.
He says we will be getting more information filed by investigators as the victim is interviewed and this case moves forward. And he says most missing person cases like this don't end this way.
I think it's an absolute miracle that she was found, that she did turn herself in.
Skorda says the Attorney General has appointed some strong investigators to this case, and the victim can be a strong witness. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
In developing news, we have a separate missing teen case involving a 15-year-old girl. This one is in Rich County, where the sheriff's office is looking for Kylie Arellano. She was last seen last Thursday night in Garden City. Anyone with information in that case is urged to call police. A Salt Lake City police officer is in jail accused of stalking his ex-girlfriend. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Prosecutors claim 40-year-old officer Todd Goodsell tried reaching out to his ex-girlfriend dozens of times through calls, texts, emails, and several different apps after they say she broke up with him last fall. Charging documents allege he emailed or texted her 52 times alone with 10 different phone numbers after she first told him to stop contacting her. Documents also claim he sent flowers to her work and that she had to ask her employer to install some kind of filter to block